Doug 4-bet action. They're about a little 100 big blinds effective.
Cover going up. Yep.
First big pot of the session. D-Neg's definitely been 3-betting a higher frequency than I expected. He hasn't done too well in the pots, but here you go.
What did you expect D-Negs to 3-bet coming into this?
Like 10%. Like watching him play live, he was just very trap happy. Like I don't think D-Negs wants to play huge pots out of position. The way the match is set up, it's better for him the lower variance route that he goes, to end up having a better chance at winning the match.
I think he's got to I think he's got to make some moves. Like I think if he's too passive and predictable, you just got to put somebody in a spot, especially heads up.
So we got a really dry board here on that 4-bet pot. Queen 7. Doug went with the small sizing as expected. They have about 80% pot back effective. Card that brings a lot of draws for some of Doug's barreling range. Expect to see an all-in a lot here.
No way, not on the pair board. He'll bet smaller check, but
really,
yeah,
80% pot. Okay.
I am the Oracle. Fucking heads up, Oracle, bro.
This is not my skill set. Heads up.
I don't know. This is actually the Negreanu line. He loves to 4-bet and then just bet ridiculously small twice, and then by the time he gets to the river, figure out what he wants to do. Oh, good backdoor flush. That could be good for Doug.
Ace King also got there. King 9. Well, Negreanu loves his King 9s.
Yeah, maybe this is a bad card for Doug. Maybe Ace Queen no good. King 9 of diamonds just a little bit too tempting for Negreanu.
But D-Neg's getting quite the price here on the river.
What does he have? I guess he could have a queen. Maybe Ace Jack. 9s or 10s. I don't know. Well,
no snap call. That's always a good sign for Doug.
Good. That's good. Truck's in 4th or 5th gear right now. It feels pretty good.
Yeah, guys who are watching on YouTube, I think Twitch is working perfect right now. Don't forget, I'm in the booth. This might be the D-Neg slow roll. I think he's got to try to get in Doug's head a little bit. Daniel's been around poker for a long time. His skill set is longevity and stamina. I know he's a lot older now, but he should really try to use some of his old school live pro tricks and wear down.
Have you watched all the match or the highlights up until this point?
I've watched probably about 40 or 50% of the hands. I try to tune in every day, but with 2 little kids, I get distracted, and it's not the best time of day when these matches are going down.
All right, this is my real question. Do you think Doug has live tells?
Yes.
Yes, Doug has live tells. Okay.
Do I think Daniel has live tells? Everyone in the world has live tells.
Okay, everyone has live tells. Does Doug have live tell? Do you have a live? You've played a little bit with Doug. Do you have a live tell on Doug?
I have a few things, timing wise, comfortability, how his chips fall in the pot. They all weigh a little bit differently, but
let's actually talk about live tells for a second, because it's not like if he grabs his chips from the left or the right, it's like he's strong or he's weak, right? It's more like a sort 100%.
No, some people reach across their body when they're strong, and they do a lot shorter grab, and how they reach, if they go a circular motion or directly to the stack and fire it out. Every motion, every tempo, everyone has a little bit of a hitch.
But are those the types of reads that you have, or is it more like a holistic sort of contextual things about his comfort or discomfort?
So I think they all weigh. Say you're at a pure needle. We're talking about the election, all other stuff. So you're dead center, and then all of a sudden he does this little hitch in his movement. You're like, oh, he's a little uncomfortable. You might be bluffing. Oh, look at this. His chips really flung to the middle of the pot. He's really putting force behind them. I think he's trying to represent strength. I move it a little bit further and a little bit further, and then all of a sudden, you're in a flip of, if it's a call or fold, then you're like, I think I have to lean towards calling because I have these 3 small factors. I think people will think tells just give 100% yes, no. And I think they weigh in with, you think of line, bet sizing, how they've been doing, what's been going on. We got another 4-bet pot here on the table on the left side.
We got things are getting juicy.
Yeah, these are some big pots.
Things are getting juicy. I don't know what happened how is it? This has to. I think the right's a 3-bet pot.
Right side was a 3-bet pot, and I think Negreanu bet small
and then check call. Call. You would do a patented 20% pot on the flop.
I saw him yesterday do some 3/4 and some 3-bet pots on some unique textures.
Oh, Doug gets off the hook. That's why he's the best. He knows. So have you ever like? So okay, so you have a live tell on Doug.
I don't have a live tell. I have a live tendency.
Live,
You know?
you feel like when you're at the table, you can get a sense for where he's at in the hand.
Oh yeah, and
Okay.
especially when Doug's more uncomfortable. Like the one time we played Super Stud, there were some really goofy spots where he's literally, rolling his eyes, thinking about what to do, and he has
Right.
3 wheel cards. Like if he had a wheel, he's just betting. Those are the more
Sure.
obvious things
Right.
when you're playing a novice game, which you
Of
see a
course.
lot more in mixed games. Like draw games, there's so many timing tells and movement that you can see on somebody. Like they just grimace and tank call the turn. They probably don't have a wheel draw. It's just stuff
Sure.
like that where like good players obviously balance, but then more novice players don't realize how their tanks can be interpreted.
All right, so
That's the one a lot
all
of
right,
people talk about.
I'm gonna leave limit out of this because like just min bet doesn't count. Let's be honest. Have you ever played a hand versus Doug, a big bet hand versus Doug, where you made a live tell move and then you were right? And you don't even have to say what the hand is. I just want to know.
Yeah, I definitely had a few where I was very confident Doug had absolutely nothing, and
Mhm.
I might check shove to my hand for value or do something else, but I just decided to go in check call mode because Doug also blasts a lot in these live cash games. So it was a combination of how he
Slow,
was
you get
acting.
bored. Yeah. What do you like? It's not even. It's not even like a. It's not even like a. Oh, he's like weak. It's like Doug is bored. Doug hasn't played a pot over like 20 bigs in like 3 hours. He's losing his mind. Like money just needs to go in. Dude, it feels like. I mean, like it really feels like Negreanu. I don't have the stats, but it feels like Negreanu's been 3-betting a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I way more than I expected,
Way more.
but he really just hasn't. I have him 3-betting so much. You think he would have went bet jam and like get a fold every like he tends to be giving up while the aggressor so frequently out of position.
Well, I mean, 3-bet pots are tough, man, and like you're right. Like the way to learn how to 3-bet pots. Step 1, 3-bet. Step 2, you got to play a bunch of them.
Well, like the stack to pot ratio being 4 to 5 pots, there are a decent amount of hands and board textures. He should be doing the bet jam line with different sizings, and I really have seen him check the turn so often in these spots.
Oh shit! Oh yes, let's go!
Whoa.
Oh, insta fold. We can bring. I'll bring that up. I don't even. I'm thinking this is a bet check bet line.
Oh, we can actually do a replayer. Nice.
Also, by the way, I'm pretty sure the YouTube stream is down. We're just on Twitch. What up, Twitch?
Yeah, we'll get to Twitch's questions.
We got comp from Norway.
These
What's
pots
good?
are flying around.
What happened on the fly? It was bet check bet, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell by the pot size that it was his min bet. When you see 2,800, you know that Daniel just min bet.
All right, let me ask you about this min bet. This is a Daniel Negreanu original.
I'm a.
Do you have a read on the min bet?
I mean, I haven't seen enough showdowns, but it seems like it should be way more polar than it has been, and I just think he's removing the top of his range, and Doug, has noticed that.
Okay. All right, I don't have a read on it. I also don't think it's a thing. Which
I think
it's doing it.
It's no, I mean, I have obviously more of a tournament background, and there's a lot of dynamic boards with shallow stack size where the min bet works. And if Doug's going to call, 90% of these min bets out of position, and to not get denied equity or lose a bigger pot that he might not, or bluff it a lot, a min bet to induce has been around for a long time. I mean, Seaver used to do that to me all the fucking time. And if Daniel perceives Doug as kind of going for it in a lot of spots, which it seems like he's going for it in a lot of spots, he's just had it a very high frequency, that it's not a terrible strategy to induce Doug.
Yeah, but bro, this isn't like they're playing like a heads up match. Like this isn't like a one off. Like Doug's not gonna get like induced to do something like wild because Negreanu keeps min betting.
I think you give Doug a lot of. We talk about Doug getting bored. Just he's playing online these days. He also can get bored here. I don't know why you say you're so confident that he won't get bored or annoyed. And he obviously ends up calling a huge frequency of those min bets.
Well, you're supposed to. You're getting 6 to 1.
But also if Daniel knows that and makes him lose more than betting a normal size where he would fold, that extra quarter big blind that he gets from him calling and folding later on will work.
You know what's interesting? Doug actually used to do that years ago. We were first starting Heads Up. We were trying all kinds of new stuff. And like it was like every week it was a new strategy. And then one week the strategy was we min raised 100%. Then we min bet, and he min bet. I never did this, but he min bet the flop. They would call because they would have to, and then they would double pot the turn. And he would double pot the turn. They would have all these like whack hands that like didn't know what to do, and then he would get a bunch of folds in. And then people figured it out and then started trapping.
But also, those in a min raise spot, it's different than a 2.5x raise spot. So he's betting 25%, which is a very common bet size, in a lot of situations.
All right, hang on. My volume is too loud. How do I sound now? I just turned it down a bunch. Do I still play poker? I play PLO every once in a while.
Yeah, I want to get some questions, but me and Fees, just
sorry.
Keep chatting.
So I'm too loud and you're too quiet. But your mic is right there, man. Why is that the case?
Yeah, my output volume's at 190 already out of 200.
All right, hang on. I'm like a tech dude. I don't know how this works. You adjusted it?
Okay, guys. Perfect.
We're good. Check. All right, just keep complaining if we got it wrong. Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys want some questions, you can probably tweet at myself or Ryan Fee Poker on Twitter, and it'll probably be easier than reading some of the chat because the chat's flying through. And we'll try to get to it. It's tough. There's not a lot of lulls in the action, but we'll try to do our best. Flip flop between a little bit of everything. I see a couple people asking if there's a side bet for the winner. There isn't directly between them, but in the live portion, I heard that Daniel and Doug both mentioned that they took some of the action at about 4-1 on themselves for their friends who took a bet that they'll try a little bit harder to win the match.
Yeah, there's been some side bets for sure. I'm definitely in the 4-1 train, looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can hedge off a little bit with some Timex's ridiculous prices.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Timex, I know he's a friend of yours, yeah?
I mean, I'm friendly with a lot of people. We came up together.
Sure.
We chat every so often about different things, but I'm not of his inner circle, and he's not of mine.
Sure. I want to talk about something that's a little bit near and dear to my heart. My good friend Timex. It's obviously a problem. It's the disease, really. He can't do anything about it. We all know he's very rich, but he just has an insatiable hunger for more money. And there's no cure. And we're clearly well-resourced enough to try to cure it, and we simply cannot. So if you guys are so inclined, you could head over to Poker Shares. You could bet on this match, and you can give Timex just a little bit of your money to give him just a little bit of relief.
Hey, listen, I respect giving the guy action he's got to be taking the worst of it on some of these markets.
For sure.
And I mean, just to come up with so many goofy ass lines, and I got some kicks out of some of the joke ones. Will Daniel be the best man at Doug's wedding? Stuff like that. The teeth anally. I mean, there were some good ones in there.
The worst, honestly, the toughest part about this match is that there's no like webcam or like stream on Negreanu. Like those juicy Negreanu tears would just be so delicious.
You act like Doug also wouldn't be frustrated and banging the desk if Daniel just kept sucking at him or kept snapping him off. They're both very emotional guys. This started off super personal. I was very involved in a lot of the personal stuff, but I definitely think this mellowed out both of them a little bit, which for the fans is a little unfortunate because I think we saw the vicious side as if this gets more lopsided. Some of the memes, some of the serious stuff that would have been done could have been amazing.
What are you a Negreanu friendly?
No. He did reach out, and we kind of had a quasi.
Hang on. We'll get to like holding hands and hugging it out later. What's the beef, dog?
I mean, Daniel called me an angle shooter very early on. He angle shot me on TV. Did a few things.
All right. So let's go hang on. Story number 1 called you an angle shooter. Can you give us your version of this story?
I mean, here's the quick version. Playing Raz against another professional player in the money, 1500 Raz. I have a better board. I usually would auto bet here. I was going to my stack. My opponent, who was the massive chip leader, bet out, threw a chip in out of turn, obviously intending to call. But if you're playing no limit, that could be a bet, and same thing in limit. So I check and check raise him on fourth instead of just putting in one bet. And Daniel thought that was an obscene angle where a professional poker player bet out of turn, and he should keep track of that. I didn't do it versus a fish. I did against someone who should know better and also had a shit ton of chips and was also a tilter himself. So
Wait,
it
so
definitely was in my
he bet out of turn, and then you did what? What did you?
I check raise instead of where normally people, would expect just one bet to go in because I have the best board and I am always betting in this situation in Raz. I had two wheel cards, he had a face card and a low card. Yeah.
So like he
So
just okay, so he did something super donk, and then you just
I took advantage of the
didn't treat it
situation.
like yeah, you were just like that's I mean, just technically that's a bet.
Yes. And so I get another small bet out of this guy, and Daniel was
Right.
at the table and says that that's an angle shoot because I shouldn't
Wow.
do that. So and then another one was some old guy showed me his hand on Sixth Street in Raz, the same tournament, oddly enough, and
Huh.
I was getting the right odds to call, but he influenced action. I was just told the guy, I was like, you can't do that. I told the floor, like, you got to tell him he can't do this because it helped my equity, but it hurt everyone else's equity at the table. And that's something about tournaments is you can't collude with each other because that helped that guy get more action to spot he was a favorite, and I was
Hang
getting
on,
the
sorry.
right pot
Hang
ups.
on, wait, slow down. I don't understand Raz. Can you
Okay,
explain this again to me?
so just assume someone shows you in Hold'em that they have pocket jacks and you have ace queen
Okay.
and you're getting 5 to 1, on the flop, and the guy knows that you have ace queen, and he shows you the jacks that get you to call, so he makes more money, but you're also, you're getting the right pot odds. So
Right.
the guy's just influencing a way to get action. So that helps both me and yours equity, but it
Okay.
hurts everyone else's equity in the tournament. So this guy
Gotcha.
did this, and I called the floor and was like, he can't be showing his hand to anyone mid hand to
So this
influence
guy
action.
was like colluding to like help you win money, and you're like, "Hey man, that's not fair." And the Grania was like, "Scumbag strikes again."
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like live pro logic to me.
Yeah, so and then there was the one where this was streamed, or whatever, filmed for World Series Europe, where,
Okay.
Daniel, string raised as I saw it in the small blind versus me, and I called him out on it, and he, changed his story to the security guard who was
I
representing the
saw
floor
this.
person.
I saw this. Yes, he changed his story. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was an angle shooter again in that situation for calling a string raise on him.
Right. Yeah,
Because his
that
his
totally was the
intention
thing, right?
was obviously to do this, and,
I will
we
say
all
this,
played enough
like
live poker.
you are vicious live about the like rules.
Yeah, which I
But
am
I
to
don't
myself and to
but it's
everyone
fine. I
else.
mean, like you're right. It's like the rules, like whatever. You got to pay attention. But that's it. But that's I mean, you can be vicious about the rules that doesn't put you anywhere in the vicinity of like angle shooting. It's
Yeah,
like not even close.
Daniel had a podcast, and I didn't even listen, but someone said he called me the worst angle shooter of my generation. Like,
What?
I mean, that's pretty ridiculous, all the cheating scandals out
Dude,
there.
that's like unbelievable. Yeah, like what the fuck is he talking about?
So yeah, so I obviously got a little offended by that, and then I'm sure many people have read the articles or the tweets over the last couple of years, but it definitely
Yeah.
got a lot more personal since then.
All right. Well, good. This is the upswing poker. Let's back up the truck.
Yeah, I mean, oh, we
Get
got a four
get a
bet
record
pot here
on.
from Daniel. Doug folds quickly. Yeah, I wonder if Doug is weighing the timing of any of these decisions that Daniel's doing. A 5 second four bet is probably a little different than a 25-second four bet. I really don't think either of them are balancing their timing too
Oh,
much.
baby, the chat, I love you. um, shout out to the guy who asked this question. Can you talk about your bet against D-Negs' marriage? Can you talk about?
So yeah, this is as it got more personal.
So now, hang on,
Um,
okay. Now, first of all, I feel like in order to properly tell this story, you first need to set up the the context of what's going on with this marriage, such that there needed to be a bet on it.
I just said some things about their family, when they got engaged that I didn't, think that they had the most healthy relationship. And I mentioned that
Okay.
to some people in private chats, and it got back to Daniel, and both Daniel and Amanda got rightfully offended. But I wasn't intending for it to ever get to them. You can have opinion on situations like me and you can
Sure.
have opinion on Trump and Melania's relationship. That if
Sure.
it got to them would probably offend them,
Do
but
you?
does
Can we pause this? Do you have an opinion on Trump and Melania's relationship?
yeah, I wanted to bet whether or not they'd get divorced after if he doesn't win re-election. I saw that some online site had that up, and someone tweeted it to me, and it's awesome.
What's the price?
I think it was like 3-1 favorite within a year for them to get divorced. There's a lot of rumors that she held out going to the White House for a better prenup agreement so that she stayed out, and like the agreement was as soon as he wasn't president, they would get a divorce.
Sure. All right. So you in private chats were possibly taking bets. Definitely
No, no,
skeptical.
no, no. I just made some I made some points about the relationship.
Okay.
The longevity, the balance that they have, whatever.
And the
And
poker gossip rumor mill just can't help itself.
yeah, there's
Certain
people in
things
group
make
chats who want to become better friends with Daniel, so they send some shit to him to suck up to him, and I think that was unfair to me as well as the right thing to do in private chats.
So then what happened with the bet? So then this all happened, and then he was like, you know what, Sean, fuck you. Like, I'll bet on my marriage.
Well, no, I just said like, I don't think it's gonna last that long. Let's do it last longer. My marriage versus yours. You've
Oh,
said some shit about
oh.
me not being there at the birth of my second child and other stuff about our marriage. So,
Yeah.
you think that we don't have a healthy relationship. I'm willing to bet that mine's gonna, survive a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, I like your side on that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I no one wanted to bet on Daniel, but they've made it far longer than I thought they would. So congratulations to them.
How far are both of you guys in now?
I'm guessing they're 2 years now or a year and a half. And I am
Hang on, I
shit.
gotta pause you. Yo, chat. Listen, if you don't, there's no. This isn't like MMA or like NFL. You don't. There's no. You can't hear the field. So like, if you don't want to listen to us, just mute us. And like, if you do like our bullshit antics, then like tune in. But like, we don't like. What you want us to not talk about? They're not talking about anything. So then we mute ourselves. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, we're trying to go and pause for the big pots to bring your attention to the game.
Sure.
But it's tough without hole cards. You can't really put yourself in the
Yeah.
situation. But yeah, so
This is-
I've been married for 7.5 years now.
Mhm.
So a
And
lot longer than I expected to make it. And anyone who
you
knows
know,
me and my wife thought would have taken the under
really,
too.
I really felt like you guys were gonna go the distance.
I mean, we have very, very boisterous, I think is the word, personalities. So we definitely have had our issues, but we survived COVID. So if you can survive COVID, you can survive anything.
Yeah. 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 That is true. How are the New York live? Do you play live in New York? COVID live in New York, is that a thing?
There's some games I haven't played any. Just this week, I think I played my first like live session since COVID and getting COVID. I went to a stud game outside of New York. I was very
Mhm.
close by. It was 75-150. A really great game, a lot of fun guys, and one of my best friends was also there. So I think I might go there more frequently, as long as my wife allows it.
As long as you're like, yeah, that's there you go. Happy, you're gonna make it, man. That's the way. That's the attitude.
Hey, I give into her a lot, but there's also a lot of things I don't. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I survived COVID. I had it about 2 months ago during W Coop and
Oh, you
World
had it.
Series GT. Yeah, I
Gee.
actually ended up being hospitalized towards the end. And normal Shaun Deeb fashion, I kept grinding while in the hospital. So I finished my Sunday and Monday grind, and you
Of
know,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
had a couple prop bets on the leaderboard versus this Russian and versus Patrick Leonard. And so I had to, try to win my bets, and I broke even, thankfully.
Sick. I do. I'm gonna answer a couple chat questions. Miss PLO streams, will they come back? Maybe, but unlikely. I'm playing like a little bit, but I play like pretty short sessions and mostly just for the lulls. And no, I don't have a boyfriend. Unfortunately, single right now.
Someone said, can you go over the 5-bet hand where Doug tripled off after they tweeted young men speeding? I don't know if it was this session or last. I didn't see a 5-bet pot. I'm surprised they had enough chips back. I don't know if you meant a 4-bet pot.
I think he probably means the queen, queen, 7, right?
The queen, that one. Okay, then it would have been a 4-bet pot.
4-bet pot. Doug 4-bets. Daniel calls. Queen, queen, 7, rainbow. Jack of hearts, 10 of hearts. Backdoor flush gets in. Bet small, jam.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a good board for Doug. A lot of things, have gotten there. Tougher for Daniel to call with even some of his queens. So, yeah.
Oh, are you bet? Yes, I'm better than Jay Nandez at PLO. Yeah. Also, I've accepted and then backed out of 0 PLO challenges.
Why didn't you take up the Galfond one?
Just didn't have it in me, man. It's like a lot of effort to like train and then play a challenge, and the Mercury's been getting the better of me at the last, several years, but it's been like a sort of up and down year, and I was actually super interested in it, but I just don't have a challenge in me. So
Fees, I've known him for a long time, guys. When he first won his first live tournament, I met him in Vegas. We used to do a lot of degenerate prop betting and other gambling, and he just never had the volume. He always looked to me and said, "Shaun, how do you wake up every day and play poker?" I said, "You just do it, Fees." And he never had it in him. He didn't have that killer
Shaun is
volume instinct.
unbelievable. Like the amount that you can grind, and like how, especially for me, I like decay. Like I can only play.
Hold on, we got an interesting spot
baby.
over on left. Doug went for the 1.5x pot. Looks like he bet 2 streets here, and Daniel with the small river check raise.
So if this is a bet check bet, this makes sense from Daniel, and it's kind of weird play from Doug.
I don't think it's bet check back. Look at the pot size.
Delay and barrel calls. Oh, somebody's hand was in the cookie jar. UL mate. Doug too rich to fold and is just getting his truck backing up on. Let's see what happens here.
I'm guessing Daniel check raise flop, check turn, check raise river, based on his hand and the board texture.
No, so just delay and barrel. Oh, probe and check raise.
Okay.
Probe and check raise.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Well, got him.
That's the thing. It's like Daniel's ran really bad. Like a lot of hands, he's had a lot of equity, and it just never gets there. And that really will frustrate you in this match. Constantly sitting on 40K as Doug keeps getting over 6 figures in each pot.
Yeah.
I see some of the people chat thinking that Daniel's going to lose 2 to 3 million. I would be shocked if he loses over like the low 1 million.
What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think's going to happen? I don't care about. Don't tell me probability. Don't say minus this. Just give me a number. Give me a number and a person.
I think Doug's going to win about 800K.
All right.
We got a 4-bet pot here on the left side.
So, would you be willing to bet on that?
I mean, I know the perceived win rate and the 12.5K hands. Like, I know it's not much for him to win another 500K, but I think Dignegs has to get better. He might switch up his coaching, might switch up his style.
Hang on. I don't need all the rhetoric. I just want to know if you would or would not bet on that number.
I mean, I know I'm a dog on the way you perceive the match to be at 800K.
Well, that's why I'm pushing for action over here.
I really think that Doug's win rate is not nearly what he thinks it is as time goes on. Daniel's a very fucking smart poker player.
All right. Okay. Who are you convincing? You or me? Like, do you want to bet?
I don't want to bet.
All right.
I don't want to bet.
I'll give you 1.1 even money. I'll give you an extra 300K at even money.
All right. Let's bet 5K on it.
All right. Booked 5K. Bad luck. Have fun.
I'm really hoping Daniel just loses a little bit and gives up after 12 and a half hands.
Just back up that truck.
See, guys, I love money so much, I'll even bet on Daniel Negreanu.
Yeah, Deeb just bet on Daniel Negreanu. Wow. How about that? Did you bet on the election?
Very, very small. I had a little over
You,
1,000 just with some of my
oh, okay,
510 no limit home game buddies who are all
sure,
big Trump supporters, and
of
I'm
course.
probably gonna win.
Yeah, I had a very interesting election night. I played
Yeah, I
live.
go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. I played a live poker PLO home game.
We
I
got
have a
another 4-bet pot here. Sorry, this
things are getting
GDX is
juicy.
going for it.
Things are getting juicy.
I'm so intrigued by
Oh,
Doug's theory, and I want to after this hand, I want to ask you why
yeah.
he's doing this. But let's watch this one go down.
Check, check. All right, it's good for Doug.
He didn't bet. Very surprising.
Maybe he has 3 kings. Maybe he has ace-5 off. Doug in the tank. That's big. That's good for Doug.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, look, he's going to have a way stronger. Like, yes, Doug wins his pot a lot more often when he bets 2/3 than when he checks.
I just expected a smaller sizing. I feel like his bigger sizing is
Trying to back
going to
up
be
the
a little
truck,
bit more.
man. You gotta it's 18 wheels. You gotta bet
I
big.
mean, you got 2 pots. You don't have to bet that big to get in over 2 streets.
I mean, got him. Got him.
So the question I have for you is one thing I've noticed out of Doug's strategy is 100 big blinds over the 2.5x. He's going 10 and a quarter. Over when they start to get about 140, 150 blinds deep, he then goes
Mhm.
to the 9.25.
Yep.
Is that just because the stack to pot they end up having is more flexible for him out of position deeper? Like usually the normal consideration is the deeper you are, the more you want to largely you want to 3-bet out of position.
I so
If you don't want to answer, like
I
I know
can get.
you're
I'll
spinning in
give
a
you
circle.
an answer that I'll give you an answer that I would give without knowing anything else. So the
Okay.
answer that I would give is that like if somebody's doing that as a conscious choice, what's happening is at a shallower stack depth, they're by making it a bigger size, they're taking a chunk of hands that the imposition player could call that can now not call because it doesn't have the odds to. So then what that does is it forces their fold to go up and forces the overall amount of equity that that range draws from the pot up. Okay.
Okay.
As you get deeper, and that by the way, that comes at a cost because the top of that player's range, top third or so of that player's range will now then make even more money, right? So it's like you're sort of like thinking about it across all parts of the range. But in this particular instance, the cost outweighs or the benefit outweighs the cost. As you get deeper, essentially what you would be saying by doing something like that is that I can't send those hands to be folding, or like the amount of equity that I'm stealing from those bottom cusp hands is not that great relative to how much I'm giving up towards his top hands when it comes to both the calls and the 4-bets. So that's why you would make it smaller. I can't why, how, yada yada. I can't say anything
Yeah.
about that. But that would theoretically be essentially what you're saying. So
Yeah, I think we talked about DNeg's 3-betting frequency. His 4-betting frequency has also been through the roof. Live he had that nice king 9 off barrel, and I was surprised that Doug didn't 5-bet shove ace queen off. But it seems his strategy is to trap with hands that I normally wouldn't love to play out of position with that stack depth. I just rip it in, and deny equity to some of his 4-bet bluffs.
when was the last time you played some heads up no limit?
I actually about a year ago, one of my friends who's probably watching Nelson, who I call Flip, he's a 1-2 no limit player. But we play handicap heads up. So we usually play 5, 10, 50 blind, 50 big blind buy-in, where I cannot raise or bet pre-flop or on the flop. And then we play heads up. So yeah, he's not very good at poker.
Sure.
But
Who normally wins these sessions?
I am up overall, and because we play 25-50 for a couple hours, but he's won majority of sessions.
Okay.
It's tough to play when you cannot build up a pot for two streets.
Your hands are really tied. Yeah, that is tough. All right, so these guys are set to play possibly 25,000 hands. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to bet on this. Now, Doug will play 25,000 hands so long as like he's, alive. And Negreanu's, up in the air. We'll kind of see what happens. What do you think the line is that Negreanu goes a distance here?
I think as of right now, 25%.
Okay.
I think very, very likely if it's close to 12 and a half, he's going to throw in the towel. Like, this is a huge time commitment, a mental commitment. You know, I would assume him and Amanda have discussed possibly having kids, what else is going on. There's definitely more important things you'd rather do. Doug inducing some bluffs there with the ace five wins a nice little 18K. So, yeah, I just think very unlikely it's going to, A, Daniel's going to be leading at 12 and a half, and B, it's going to keep going. So obviously for our bet we made, I'm really, counting on the 12.5K
Right,
being
of
my
course.
saving grace.
This is actually a pretty reasonable line from Negreanu with the 10-8 versus the ace-5. He just triple barrel. Doug just call with an ace.
All right, I'm going to read another question or two from Twitter.
Go for it.
Someone says, any poker player that tilts you the most? Wow, there's a lot of people that tilt me in poker. But, usually it's the scumbags, the guys who don't pay their debts, Cantu or someone like that crew, or just like the straight up cheaters, that you hear about running illegal home games and actually just cheating. So anyone who fits in that category, I'm not gonna throw them all under the bus, but there's plenty of people out there doing shady shit in the private world.
So Cantu has been back in action. I don't know if you
I
got your
have
ear to the
heard.
streets. Yeah, but I've seen I got my ear to the streets, and he's very much so been in the mix.
Yeah, and
Um,
I know he's paid back some debt, but not all of it.
okay. Does he owe you?
No, he just owes people I'm friends with. I've
Gotcha.
never trusted him.
Probably a good move. Oh yeah, so I'll tell the rest of my my election
Oh yeah,
history. So,
election night. Yeah.
I wake up late and and sort of just a random whim, I had to play some live
Where are you in
and
California or Vegas right now?
Vegas.
Okay.
So it was a private game. So I show up to the private game and we're just playing like 5-5-10 PLO. And by the way, I had a small bet on Biden. And I was going to bet big, but then
You
honestly,
guys know Fee's small bet is bigger than my big bet, just so you guys know.
yeah, yeah. I bet like 30 to win 20. And I was going to bet a lot more. Doug was definitely trying to talk me into it, but I just got like cold feet. I'm like, look, like this just, I don't know why the line is like the way it is. And like, I don't know if these polls are reliable. I just had I just didn't have I had like a funny feeling. So I was like, I'll just let this play. That's fine. Anyway, so I get to this live game, and then this like super MAGA dude was there, and he had like a huge bet. He was set to win 200K, which I think for him was for sure going to be a pretty material amount of money. And he also had a no drinking bet, but he had like a hall pass, so he could drink for 8 hours. So he gets to the game.
Oh man, that's a good combination for a PLO game.
At this point, he starts drinking. Trump is up like 2-1 on the market.
Oh, so he has 200 on Trump. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know what price he got, but I knew he stood to win 200K.
Okay.
And he started winning in PLO. So everything's going his way. He's drunk. Trump's taking it to the motherfucking house, and he's winning at PLO, right? So he's having just like the time of his life. Couple hours roll by. He's like, his drinking window's done. He's been losing at PLO, and Trump starts tanking. And I just like incredible arch of just like pure euphoria to just like utter devastation. And yeah, dinner show, really, it was fantastic. And I won my bet after he got, when at peak drunk, I was being like relentlessly berated for betting on Biden. and
Yeah,
got him.
you know what? I was watching the Market Mania show with who was it? Glance, Brett Ritchie, and Micon. What some interesting characters. I like those three guys a lot. And they had a lot of great guests. I know Jay Lama was there and a few other people. But when I saw the live betting line being like 4 or 5 to 1 for Trump, I was like, man, I wish I had access to bet something because it just
Sure.
seemed like a slam dunk. Bet on
Yeah.
Biden. So much shit could happen, and you weren't sure what votes weren't counted yet. And my wife is a
Nice
big
shot.
Biden
What's up,
supporter
guys? We're at
and was
Sand
very
Hollow,
stressed out, thinking Trump's going
Utah.
to win again.
Amazing course.
And yeah,
Look at this
she got
hole.
very happy.
It's like
So we got some
literally
nice spots
on
going down here. 4-bet
All right.
by
side of
Dean
like
Eggs,
1,000-foot cliff or
about
some craziness.
130 blinds effective.
I'm gonna go to the edge.
Yeah, Negreanu is playing much better pre-flop. This is probably why they allowed pre-flop
Amazing.
charts. It must have occurred to him there would be a huge edge for him. So
I've yet to see Doug have a 3-bet fold though. I'm kind of
he folded one.
surprised.
He folded one, but I think just one.
Okay.
All right, we're back to the patented bet small and no dice.
There is not a third voice.
Do we have what's the tally? Where are we at right now? All right, it looks like Doug is up. No, that is incorrect, I think.
I think Doug's up maybe 30K.
60? It says
he's not up 60.
I mean, maybe 40. Maybe we'll buy him.
Another 4-bet pot here by Dean Eggs. It's really the only thing he's printing on these 4-bet pots. Nice wet board with a lot of good hands for each side. See, this is a spot where me personally, I would not be fifth potting. I would want to set up a turn, stack size that could jam a lot easier than 1.3 pot.
I think turn jamming is out. I think it's out. It's on vogue right now. I think it's a bet small. Yeah, I mean it definitely is for Negreanu. I think, but I'm just from like the little like R&D I've done into the heads up world recently. It does seem like it's not so much of a thing. They like betting small and putting them in tough spots. Whoa! Speaking of spots.
Yes, look, turn all in. Told you.
yeah. Just
2.7x pot, double flush draw.
Yeah. Doug's in the tank here, so he's either got
he's all in on both
Q
tables,
burger or he's pretending to have a Q burger. And
you don't think he has any fives here?
Yeah, I suppose he could. Yeah, I suppose he could, but got it through. All right, well now we're up 60 G's. Now life is good.
Yeah, one thing I want to say strategy-wise, I want to ask your opinion is, I'm surprised Dean Eggs is not resetting stacks more frequently. If I feel like Doug is going to be way more comfortable than Daniel in the 150 plus range, that he should be, if the resets are available, I would think he would want to do that, especially like we talk about, if his preflop's his best game, the shallower, the 100 big blind effective is going to be a lot better for him than the 150 because, preflop's going to matter a lot more.
I don't know if they're allowed to do that.
I think they allowed resets.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, like, I guess like it would be. I don't know. I believe they're not. I believe I asked Doug about this. I believe they can reset it like session to session. But I think like once you start, like you're not allowed. But if they could, should he? Sure. I guess like maybe it makes your edge, go down, or Doug's edge.
I mean, it also helps DNX have to study less spots. If he never has to study over 150 big blinds, that's a lot of time that's freed up for the study sessions and whatever else to cram into his brain.
Why doesn't Daniel 4-bet bigger if Polk calls all the 4-bets? Good question. Maybe he likes him. Maybe he thinks he's making a mistake by calling it. Maybe Doug would fold more to the big ones.
I mean, also his 2.5x there, setting up 2 times pot is a very smooth, stack depth that there's a lot of creativity you can do. If he goes bigger and he has like 1.7, 1.6, his down bets are going to be setting up pot check jams for Doug. That might actually, be better for Doug out of position to not have to play the turn and river. He could just, play his flop a lot smoother.
Also, I think these days in our solver or post solver world, I feel like especially pre-flop, people play a lot more on the static side, especially in like a dedicated sort of heads up match where they're just like, this is just what I'm going to do. Maybe I make a couple tweaks here and there. But I think like in game, they just kind of like, this is what I'm going to do. And they just sort of stick with it. There's plenty of other things to worry about. in a tough heads-up match. So, yeah. All right, we got a 3-bet pot. We got a tiny bet. King 3-3. My guess is Doug's betting a lot of hands, putting a lot of pressure on this board. 9, pretty good for Doug. Probably pretty good for both of them, though. I would imagine Daniel probably floats most of his broadways here. Doug checks. Not good news for Doug. Possibly good news for Daniel. Also, guys, you should know Doug will be joining our stream at the end of the session to talk about hands. He will only have a voice component. And maybe we'll answer a couple questions, fire him off at either me or Shaun on Twitter. We'll ask him. Check. That is, it's an okay. It's not the most amazing, honestly.
Daniel's turn frequency is so low, so
Queen
like him
high.
checking back could even be a king, you know.
Yep. And this is gonna be, I'm gonna guess, a 9 through a queen, or maybe like he's setting the induce. No, oh, king jack. Just super casual king jack. All right, well, Doug gets off the hook yet again. How long do you think this is going to take?
I bet the under on TimeX's site. I'm kind of surprised at the hard 2 hours
what
a
is
day.
On poker shares?
I gotta pull it up. I don't even...
Session. Who will be Doug Polk's best man? The field.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good bet. If I had a poker shares account, I think I'd get in there.
Yeah, I think it was like February 1st or something. March 1st, maybe. I should.
What do you think? So this is like a little weird, mostly because like live guys are typically the ones that like play these insane marathon sessions. And online guy, I mean, this isn't, but oftentimes live guy will play forever and online guys play shorter sessions. And Negreanu is just trying to play 2 hours a day, every other day.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things DNeggs could do to help himself, EV wise. And I do think longer sessions could be better for him.
Okay.
I think he's going to have way less burnout than Doug. He's been grinding online for the last 4 months, playing all the World Series events, all the GG events. He's done this before. And, I think that there's all these things that could benefit him. Staying in the status quo, I think, is what he should get away from. Anything where Doug is convenient with his schedule, his setup, you got to make him uncomfortable. You got to, but he also, DNeggs might just want to lock up a win or two and really, chip away that number. But we've seen some massive comebacks in the heads up, grudge matches. The Galfon Venvidi one, the one that Chance Corneth is doing right now. So he's definitely not out of it. Got a big pot going down on the left side here.
What is 3-bet? Doug bets. Check calls turn. Jack 10 gets there. Negreanu could have 10-9, Jack 9, Ace 10, Ace Jack, or an 8, or Jack 10. Hey, King 10 good. Easy game. Is there any poker stuff happening in the next like 3 or 4 months that Negreanu is beholden to? World Series winter or something?
There might be a thing or two that I've heard some rumblings about, but I don't think they would take up a lot of his time or make him, have to leave Vegas. So I don't know. See someone asking how much should I charge Negreanu for coaching? If he has to come to me for no limit hold'em coaching, he should do a buyout. I mean, I am not even top 100,000 of heads up no limit players. That no limit is not my game. Heads up is not my skill set. I'm here for the color. Fees is here for the strategy. I just feel like me and Daniel think a lot alike. Coming from a mixed game live background, playing all the games, playing the volume.
Let's get things juicy. Who's a better live? Oh baby. We're getting thrown off of WSOP because my location cannot be verified. Oh God.
Fees with the zero balance. Times are tough over there, buddy.
Tough, dude. Times are real tough. All right. See if I can. Let me just restart this real quick. All right. So sorry. So let's go back. I mean, it doesn't matter. They can still see it, so we don't. Let's not worry about it for now. But who's the better?
Oh, they can still see it. Okay, good.
Live ring mixed game player. We're gonna keep that we're gonna say mixed game and keep it real loose on what game. Like, just we got a big umbrella here. Big umbrella.
I think
live mixed game.
Just between me and Daniel.
Sure. Yeah.
I think I will do better against Fish, and Daniel will do better against tough opponents.
Okay. All right. Why? I guess. Why do you say that? Bear in mind, I know nothing about live ring mixed games.
I just think there's so many more creative things you can do against Fish that I am such an exploitive player. Like the shit I come up with in some of the spots I find myself in, where no one else would even consider V-pipping the hand, and all of a sudden I'm doing this really creative turn bluff, or doing something to shut someone out. So I just get involved in more hands, which allow myself to make better decisions than my opponents. So I think I'm gonna have more profitability. But against like really great players, I just definitely played too many hands.
All right, we're in a bind. WSOP is not letting us in. I am gonna try something else. So let me ask you this question: what about? So in that case, World Series, all the mixed game tournaments.
Well, I mean, tournaments and ring. I was assuming I
Okay.
will bet on myself strictly from volume based. There are, probably 20 guys who are better at mixed game tournaments than me, but but no one who will put in the volume that I put in. Like those guys who are better than me just play the high stakes cash, and with how little volume I get in throughout the year, I don't enjoy, doing that side of things.
But Negreanu loves bracelet mixed game bets of one kind or another, right?
Yeah, but he won't bet me. When we talk about the personal Twitter drama, I offered him a large player of the year bet, and he said, I can't trust you to not cheat. And, for him to tweet stuff like that, that was some of the stuff that really got me going. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Like, to call someone afraid of them cheating in a large bet, especially at the stage of the World Series where everyone's going to know about the bet, like, there's just no shot. And I'm so hated by so many people in poker. There's no way I could ever get away with anything, even if I wanted to, which I wouldn't want to do.
It's also ironic. I mean, I definitely don't think he is, but when he accepted this challenge, like the first 2 weeks, the only thing I could think about was like, how is he going to cheat at this? It just didn't seem possible that he would do this.
I mean, I was convinced when he took this. I said Daniel's kind of on a free roll. It's expensive, it's a publicity free roll. I think GG loves the attention he gets. Oh shit! They just kicked me off TeamViewer.
Yeah. Sorry, no, that was me. I'm gonna resend you a thing.
Oh, okay. And I think he's supposed to lose. So if he ever somehow variance of heads up, and I know who I felt like I thought he was going to hire a particular person as a coach who also made some big heads up matches and has been crushing a bunch of games. And so I think that they definitely have a good strategy going in, but I think they've definitely run well in the bottom 1% of EV for these first few sessions. I mean, like you tweeted that he's almost up as much as he could be, if Daniel just folded every hand. Like there's no way Daniel's playing that bad that the current win rate is.
Okay, I didn't tweet that, but that is a great tweet.
Who tweeted that?
I don't know, but I like that tweet. I like
someone said it like he's only losing 12 big blinds for 100 under if he folded every hand. I thought that was you that I saw.
No, not me. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing back in the mix.
Should I just pull up Twitch myself?
Yeah, you should. Sorry.
Okay.
But I can't even. WSOP doesn't even think I'm in Nevada now.
Well, are you?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I would never violate TOS.
All right, I kind of lost the chats, so let me try to figure out.
Yeah, yeah. We also don't have. Oh my god! Come on.
Sorry, guys. We're hopefully we get some time to do this again. Wasn't really planned. I just said I was enjoying watching this. I wanted an excuse to get away from the wife and kids, so I signed myself up for some commentary. Someone asked, "Will you play live anymore post Corona?" I definitely want to play. Like after having it, I definitely am not as afraid of getting it or passing along to people. It just it sucks to have to go somewhere quarantined for 2 weeks away from my family, or they can't go to school coming back.
Can you tell me a little? What was it like? Were you freaked out at all when you had it, or were you just like, "This is like no big deal"?
I wasn't at first, and after about a week and a half, 2 weeks of the symptoms, I texted my wife, all the people that owe me money, all the people I owe money to, and where all the money is, and
Oh
that
god,
freaked her
yeah,
the fuck out. Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure she didn't like that. She wasn't like in love with that.
So after checking back and raising a small pro bet, Doug goes for the 1.5x pot bet on
All
the
right,
table on the right.
we're just gonna have to be on delay now because there's no. I'm like trying to get this thing to come back up. I just simply cannot do it, unfortunately.
Am I?
Yeah, you're. I mean, just watch it from your thing. We'll just be on like a slight
Okay.
delay.
I just don't see my pitch up there, so I thought I
Oh
might
yeah,
have messed up.
yeah. Your picture's not up there. Great. Sounds about right.
It's okay. Fees is the better looking person anyway.
That's where I derive most of my power from. Have them get lost in my eyes. All right, what happened in this pot? Looks like
On the
Doug
left side, Doug 3-bet, and I don't know
bet
if he
and
check called or bet
yeah.
small.
So
I'm
Doug
assuming based on that card that he check called, because if he bet, I think he's leading that turn a
No, he
decent amount.
didn't. Oh, the flop. Yeah, Doug probably doesn't have ace king.
Listen, guys, we're not specialists at this. Upswing's not used to doing this. This is week one.
It's
Give us
also
some
weird.
time.
Like I'll chop it up. It's also weird because we're using like infinite different programs to like set everything up, and like one of them conflicts with like another one, and it's just like the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, we don't have some fancy studio. We're across the country.
What can we really do? So tell me about. So you're saying Negreanu has a coach. I've heard him talk about this. Got him yet again. This coach character. He talks about him like he's the best like heads up player.
I mean, I'm making assumptions that
I've
the
never
same
even
person.
heard of this dude, and like I've
Uh,
asked like the high stakes heads up community, they have no idea who this dude is.
I mean, he just booked a match versus Victor or whatever, Limitless, a couple months ago, and he's been
Mhm.
playing some of the big GG games. He's been playing private. He had some success in the World Series last year. He's a young kid, and he's coached some big name people who have had success after it.
Hang on. He booked a bet versus Limitless. Did they
I am
play?
No, I think because he can't fly here because of COVID, but they're gonna play 1K, 2K live. I think 400K, or sorry, like 2 million stop loss for each side.
So 10 buy-in, freeze out.
Yeah,
That one. Okay.
I think that was what they did. Because after
All
like
right.
Limitless was drunk in some match, like on Joe Ingram or something, said he'll play anybody, and then MJ stepped up.
Well, supposedly he said he stepped up. Like
I listen.
I have my doubts about a guy that's never played. Does he
I,
play
I
online poker?
yes, he's played some of the big GG games when I was out of the country a couple months ago. Like I
Um,
believe MJ what he says he will do. He has got a good crew behind him, and if I could bet on these matches happening, I would.
okay. All right. You've met this guy, whoever this dude is.
Yeah, he said he played a whole World Series schedule last year. Final table, I think the 25K PLO. And I talked some hands with him. I hung out in his trailer. He's you would like him a lot, Fees. regardless of which side of
Alright,
this group is
sure.
on this match.
I just like have been around poker so long, and there's so many guys that are like this guy's like the sickest, and I'm like, who is he? Like, has he ever played? And then they're like, oh yeah, he plays live. Like it's like private game thing. I'm like, oh yeah, he sounds sick.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
All right, well,
I've
we'll
learned
find out.
playing live is way better than playing online. Like, why play against tough games and make way less money at smaller stakes?
Sure. Well, hey, I'm with it. Like you're a hustler, you got to hustle. But like, I just don't see how this guy could be like a top tier poker player if he's spending all of his time chasing around like private games.
That's nice of you to put the little fish on Dean eggs and the shark on Doug.
Yeah, of course. I'm a visual learner.
And listen, guys, I don't have confirmation from MJ or Daniel or anyone. Like, I apologize if MJ isn't his coach, but it seems very likely based on their relationship. But Daniel's also recruited other people, and if this match is not going well, there's no reason for Daniel not to pull more people into his corner and get some other brains. Because if the current strategy isn't working, switch it up. And I think Daniel's going to make a lot more changes in his game where Doug's going to have to readjust, and D-Negs might find a little something that works.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Not like in the middle of like a 200 400 like heads up challenge, like not really the time you want to be retooling your game, but hey, if like it's getting pummeled, like I guess you got to make a move, right?
I mean, you think Doug's not making small tweaks to his game? Doug,
I mean, I'm
Doug
sure
is
he
definitely
is, but like he's doing it like these are like small tweaks that he's doing like all himself. And he's not like, all right, like I gotta throw out like my head coach and like my back office. We gotta get like a new one in here, like new regime, change everything.
another 3x pot jam from Doug. He's really had some, unique spots versus Daniel, where I haven't seen Daniel do the massive river overbets yet. I don't know if he just hasn't been aware for those spots or hasn't come up, but it's been pretty brutal for him to just be, in that hero call mode every time for, huge time spot on river. I mean, I see someone saying Doug said he was studying a few hours each session. Doug tweeted today that he was up at 6:30 a.m., 8 hours before the match, working on his game, running some sims. So, Doug is all in. Doug is a very, very hard worker when he's motivated, and this match definitely motivated him.
Yeah, it's actually been like kind of incredible to see because Doug was very much so like done as a poker player, and like uh we've hung out like a handful of times, and like it's unreal. I mean, we talk about like poker more than 50% of the time, and it hasn't been like that in years and years. Like he really is just like completely back into the swing of things.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him keep playing. Ooh, it's a nice value raise there from D-Nags after hitting the gutter on the river.
What was the action that hand?
I saw Doug 3/4 the river, like 3K into 4K, and then Daniel check raised.
Check right down. Tyler asks, is 25K hands enough for you to say somebody's definitively better at heads up? What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm not the best judge of this, but you know, that's a lot of hands of heads up, and obviously based on the results, you'll probably have a better understanding. Like if Daniel loses 2.5 million, it's probably pretty clear. If Daniel loses 200K, then it's a lot closer where it's in the realm of standard deviations away from winning and losing based on the discrepancy of how much they've won or lost.
What if you were right? Yeah, from a result standpoint, you have a pretty good feel, but you might not necessarily know. What about if you were to ask the players? What do you think?
Um, I think they'll both. I think that there would never be a situation where Daniel's going to say he's definitively better than Doug.
I just
Doug is.
mean in general. I just mean in general. If you think of two people played,
Oh, I think most poker players are so naive on their own skill set. They're gonna
yeah,
get one of them's gonna get it wrong a lot.
right, okay,
But that's why poker is so profitable. Is so many people think that they just run bad. They don't realize the mistake that they set themselves up with to allow themselves to lose possibly that pot.
sure. It's hard to say. Although 25K hands a heads up, like, I mean, you really should know the answer. It could, I mean, it could be close for sure, and win rates go back and forth as people adjust. But for the most part, you kind of know. You kind of know
One
who
thing
the
that's drastically surprised me, but maybe it's just the way No Limit goes, is just how few all-ins there have been before the river. It's literally been pre-flop or river only. Not many flop raises, no more bet three bets. Like, the way I play the game is a lot faster, and it just seems that I've yet to see a hand where it's all in on turn or flop yet this match.
we've got. It's an interesting river for Doug because so a bunch of flushes get there, but nothing else really does. And now a bunch of Negreanu's eights and sevens are very, very unhappy. So great spot to bluff. If you got a heart. Great spot to value bet if you got two hearts.
I see someone keeps asking, do we think D-Neg should have requested more live play? I feel like he's under a 7-1 underdog here. Um, I think the live play is just so difficult for them with COVID. I don't think either of them really want to look at each other too often. And it's just tougher to get the hands in. So this
Yeah,
match will take 6 months or a year, and both them are too rich to want to spend the next year playing each other. They have better ways to spend their Daniel has better ways to spend their time. Doug might not have a more profitable hourly than here.
yeah, this is really a dream spot. Yeah, it is really brutal live just because of like how few hands you get. And
But
like I
obviously,
had
like for us, we would love to watch them play live. Like seeing the whole cards the way Poker Go had it, just it
right.
makes it so much more interesting every single spot.
Yeah.
You really actually see how good one's running or the other one isn't. Like D-Neg's, I think me and you both can agree he's running bad, but we don't know how bad without seeing the whole cards. Maybe
Yeah.
D-Neg's like his Queen 3 dimes is just missing every combo draw. Every second pair is losing the top pair, or the scariest card in the river comes and Doug bluffs it. Is able to turn into a bluff. You really just don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really hard to say. It's yeah, you're right. You get a lot of it's I mean, it's tough. Like sometimes those poker go things you play for like, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, and then they get like, one good hand, right? One juicy hand that like gets thrown up on YouTube. Whereas, if these guys played for 6 hours, they would have hands for like a month. But as like
Yeah,
a player, it is tough because it's just so few to do a proper challenge. You get so few hands that you just be bored out of your mind. You be
yeah.
playing like
So
forever.
I think we're gonna have a little break here. So we got some questions from Twitter that I see. How do you
Sweet.
guys feel about Jer playing nosebleeds without settling with Jungle Man? I mean, that's on them. The match has been so long. I know there's been discussion of settlements. I don't know the true details, but Jer should have made it right already by Jungle. What do you think, Fees?
I don't like. Yeah, I mean, he definitely did some very questionable things for a while. He did like Jungle did get some money, and he did do some sort of like things for like reconciliation. But I know that even then, kind of Jungle was still trying to get like some sort of closure on the whole thing, and I think he just sort of put it behind him. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's not good, but I don't think it's like so bad that they should be he should be like not maxed or anything like that.
All right, another question, probably more for Fees than me. Could you or Fee tell us exactly how to get better? I have the time, willingness, discipline, and intelligence, but I don't know how to. Can you give specific examples on how to improve beyond just study and practice? I simply don't know what I don't know.
I mean, you got to make some poker friends. Really, that was the biggest thing that I did early on that really accelerated my growth. And I met a bunch of guys that were like really smart players, and they were great, and I learned a lot from them. But I would say like 30 to 40% of it was like me learning from them, and then the rest of it was almost like playing tennis with like a wall. It's just like I would shoot like an idea out, and I just needed somebody to just kind of like bounce it back at me, and that yeah, it was kind of almost like me arguing with myself in a way, and it it accelerated my learning about my blind spots. Um, and yeah, maybe it made me a heck of a lot better. It's like that plus like a lot of patience because your growth will be definitely nonlinear. You know, like you'll have a couple epiphanies, and then you'll improve. You win a lot of money or whatever all at once. You go back into the dungeon, stagnate for a couple months, and get all frustrated, and then you know, just keep at it.
See
You get another breakthrough. Keep going.
a rare flop raise here from Doug, especially on this type of board. Ace 9 3 the flush draw. D-Negs had 3-bet. Doug called. Daniel did his standards 1/5 pot, and Doug raised pretty much almost full pot. So now we see a very drawy turn card coming up. All the backdoor flush draws now have a little bit more equity. See what Doug's going to do with 1.2 pots.
Have you ever coached anyone? Whoa.
Oh, chop it up.
So anticlimactic.
It was a 3-bet pot.
3-bet pot, yeah.
So I've coached. Most of my coaching has been people at the World Series final table. I've done that like 4 or 5 years. Some long-term coaching, others just day of, just some in-game, communicating. And then I've coached maybe one person mix and a couple people in open face, and really not much. I don't think I'm a great coach. I'm not the super strategy guy. I'm definitely just get in the streets and play the fun side of poker, which gets destroyed by the solver guys. So that's part of the reason why I don't beat the online games and you don't see me really playing much anymore.
Did you ever watch any of the Ivy like coaching? I forget what even site it was, but
I don't think I've ever watched anyone's video. But yeah, he did masterclass. Or you mean the Ivy poker one?
I meant it was Ivy Poker. I think he did Lego, but yeah, I guess it was Ivy Poker. Yeah, I felt like the way he's an unbelievable player, but like one of like the worst all-time coaches because he was just like his answer was just like kind of depends how the way that guy's playing in the moment. And what that really says to me is that there's like a lot of intuitive contextual things that he's using to make his decision that are not easily articulated or like impossible to articulate. He definitely doesn't think about hands from like a fundamental foundation or anything like that. Like
Well, I mean, he's also the highest stakes he's playing. No one had that GTO background, so he's crushed the biggest games for years where no one was playing that style, so you didn't have to counter that. You just literally said, "Is this guy on tilt? Is he playing too many hands? Is he giving up on the turn?" Like you found exploitation of their strategy, and then you try to incorporate that into your profitability, which is so difficult to teach because
Yeah.
there's no repetition. It's just you have to
Right.
figure out the flow from that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's how do you teach that? The way I feel like the way to teach it just you have to talk about you have to tell sessions as if they were stories, and give a bunch of clues, thoughts, feelings, details, etc., that then lead to a single hand or a series of hands that you okay. I'm going to do this because of everything that we know to be true up until this point.
Yeah, when I ask a hand, I'd say like, here's the 3 relevant hands I think, whether he played against me or someone else, that affect my thought process here. Because I saw him play a set this way, or he trapped with this hand, or he chose this sizing and couldn't continue. And you don't know if that was just that part of the range, but you have to use limited information to try to make more educated decisions. Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Just go silent.
Did you see? Have you had any takes on the hands that they've played so far?
Like the King 7, King 5 is really interesting. I don't know if people think. I think Daniel's call is good. Obviously, if Daniel's call isn't good, then Doug shove isn't good. Kind of an interesting, cool spot. The way it went down with the turn sizing. Obviously Daniel can decide on the turn if he thinks he should be calling his worst top pairs. But
should
I think
we tell the hand real quick so they know what we're talking about? Because this wasn't very.
Let's watch this 4-bet first.
Sure.
Wait till there's a lull. Yeah, we can't get 4-bet alerts because Daniel is 4-betting. Got to be like over 20% of the time.
It does, yeah. It does feel
And
like
that
an
was
unusual.
one of those 3-bet folds from Doug.
So the hand was Doug raises, single raise pot. Negreanu calls. King 7-3 rainbow. Check, 2/3, call. Turn 8, I believe, no flush draw. King 7-3 8. Overbet, 150.
Yeah, 1.5.
Yeah. And then river 5, 13K in the pot, 39 in the stacks. Doug bets it all, and Daniel calls, and Doug has King 7 for the flop top 2, and then Daniel ended up rivering Kings up, and then made the hero call. So yeah, super interesting spot. Definitely one you don't see very often. I'm kind of surprised Doug did it with King 7. I think the 9-6, 3s, 6-4 kind of makes sense. Kind of hands he can have, Daniel can't really have. And then you don't, especially with the straights, you don't really block any of those 2 pairs. So Doug really got max value in that one. But yeah, definitely a good line. Definitely not a line I would have taken with that particular hand. I would have for sure bet small, but I'm a PLO player now, so I don't know. This is interesting. I think Daniel probe, he min bet probe the hand on the Jack 7-7.
No, because based on the pot size, it would have been 2,700. I think Doug at like 500 or something on the flop.
I think Doug bet small, check back, and now is raising. Yeah, story checks out.
At least for Daniel, today on one of the tables, he's not just always in for the minimum, and he's chipping away slowly versus Doug. So it's not going to be as brutal of a session as the other ones. But obviously, they haven't really played for stacks yet, so that's going to be a nice 40K swing for one of them soon. Anyone who thinks Daniel's playing tight doesn't know Daniel. I think he's playing the right amount of hands, and the only issue might be the sizings he's choosing. Might be where Doug's getting most of his edge from. If he has a higher frequency of getting stacks in with his nutted hands, Daniel's going to lose because they're going to have an equal number of coolers. Someone asked on Twitter, is Doug a better heads-up player now than he was back in his prime years? I mean, we can definitely say that for Doug when he comes on at the end of the session, but he's going to say yes. I mean, the game's gotten so good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really get worse at poker, and Doug's been working, crazy hard and is busting out his sims. So
do you say people don't get worse at poker?
Yeah.
A lot of people get worse at poker. I've gotten worse at poker.
How?
How? You just stop playing and stop caring or get too rich.
So then, well, okay.
Or everyone you're playing against gets better at a higher rate than and you just realize you can't beat it.
In a relative sense, you could get worse at poker. In an absolute sense, you would have to give a good amount of effort. Like there would have to be some effort on your part. Like I don't know how you would you forget what hands to bet or raise.
Yeah, I definitely I don't know what my 12 big blind shoving and calling range is anymore, blind versus blind. Like I had that way more down years ago. Especially tournaments, there's so many simple preflop things where the answer is, was able to become with pre-solvers, and you don't even have that anymore.
I'm sorry, the answers were pre-solver. So you mean,
Yeah.
but these
So,
are like small things that you forget about, like.
But the small things add up to make you a worse player. I'm not learning new things over the last 5 years in blind versus blind, sub 15 big blind strategies.
This is true. This is true. Although I don't know, it's the thing is, I find in practice it's relatively difficult, just because so long as you're somewhat sort of engaged with just anybody, like a lot of the way that people learns is like through osmosis. Like, I think that in an absolute sense, a lot of recreational players or more mediocre players are a lot better now than they would have been, 10 years ago. Because a lot of the people learn, bet sizes and hand ranges by sort of the environment that they're in. So I suppose you could, slowly deteriorate your knowledge, but it wouldn't take that much effort for you to then reintroduce yourself and become a stronger player.
Yeah, I think Atheist just made a good point saying, I'm talking about getting rusty while you're talking about forgetting the principles that will never be forgotten. Like the things you're talking about are riding a bike. You're going to remember to raise first in and, 3-bet out of the small blind, just like things that you will never forget because they've been ingrained in you. But
you're not going to start
things,
limping or, yeah.
Yeah. See another question from Twitter. Do you guys think that online community embracing HUD stats for years, in parentheses, I hate them, is how we went down this slippery slope of RTA and botting? I think off-table study is great and everyone should take advantage of it, but you should have to figure out opponent for yourself. I'll let you answer that one, Fee, and then I'll give my opinion.
I think, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't rest it squarely on the shoulders of a HUD. If I were to sort of change the HUD to, I mean, the HUD's a lot of it's HUD, it's poker coaching, like content solvers, poker tracker database software, all of these things, have in many ways contributed to the poker ecosystem changing and becoming more efficient. So I wouldn't leave it squarely on a HUD, and the sort of everyone's sort of begrudgingly is like kind of bothered by this whole phenomenon, right? Like, you want it to be the land of milk and honey forever, but what you kind of just have to accept is that nothing lasts forever. It's just like an adapt or die type thing. You're really stuck. Okay.
Yeah, I think the RTA and the bots were always going to come around. They were around in our day, in my heyday 15 years ago. They just sucked. And as computers got stronger and cheaper, as people got smarter, like they're gonna, solvers came around. They had a lot more opportunity to run large samples and get a lot better. I don't think the HUD had anything to do with that whatsoever. And I'm a non-HUD player. I mean, it's probably can figure that out by talking to me.
Yeah, I didn't even, honestly, like, I went back and forth for like a while, and I didn't even find them to be that. Like, I know later in the game, a lot of people were very gung ho about using a HUD, and I didn't even really find them to be that useful. They're like somewhat, but like, honestly, I feel like the valuable data you glean from them, there's like a couple things, but they're not sort of like that useful.
All right, hold on. I just want to pause you. We got 4-bit pot on one table and check raise on a paired board on the other one. So these might get spicy.
Oh, Negreanu is going to Cooler Dog.
Oh, I'm lag, so.
Okay. Truck moved just like a little bit forward there. Yeah, I don't think it's that valuable. And also, you need for you to even get into more like sort of esoteric nuance stats. You need a big sample that is really hard to come by, and it's not. And I feel like there's definitely a lot of guys that are super hot on HUD and having these crazy HUDs and their HUD stats, and I don't really feel like they. I don't really feel like whatever data they're getting is they're all of a sudden they're making these dramatically different plays that are super, super valuable. I think there's a number of ways that are like if I could remove something to make the games better, it's probably like number one solvers, number two hand histories would probably be my rank order for how to slow everyone down from getting better at poker.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys are trolling, but like Doug, based on we talk about the frequency of Daniel's four bets, like getting in jacks or trying to trap with them, you're not gonna fold, and you're just getting it in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, whoever thinks that I'm a better poker player than Fees, realize that Fees is a specialist, and what he plays, no limit and PLO cash, or heads up like he used to, he's so far above me. I just got decent at a lot of little things. So you look at the overall thing, it helps me look like a better player based on some of my results, but I'm not some sicko that I, once was. And even back then, I just figured out some things that were correct before other people and just, did them by mass volume. I was a total trial and error kid.
Yeah, which is very. I mean, it's very. I mean, for what you do, it's. I mean, that's the way to do it. Because now you have unlimited options. You can really play any format if the game is good, which is. I don't know. I don't know. It's really a personal preference thing, but it's like a very how should I say? It's like a very legitimate approach to being an online poker or being a professional poker player.
Yeah, especially like someone who likes putting in the volume that I do. If I was strictly a PLO 2550 plus player, you're very limited where you can live and what games you can play. But if you can play a no limit game, a PLO game, a limit hold'em, a stud game, whatever it runs, or a mixed game, it gives or tournaments, you have so much more flexibility and freedom to get in volume and make more money.
What non-no limit game have you won the most money in?
Which do you mean poker or does open face count?
Let's start. We'll include open face and then we'll disinclude open face.
So open face number one, and then
Okay.
pretty much any of the versions of Badoogie. So Badoogie, Badusi, Badesi. Like I just had at one point, I probably was the best Badoogie player in the world for like full ring
Oh
and
wow.
six max and three handed. I was probably top three heads up. So it was, but it's also a very deadish game. So I was a very
Right.
specialized, but it helped me incorporate it in other games, and I was able to win so much in the Badoogie rounds that I offset what game I might suck at.
Right. Yeah, that's the rub of mixed games, right?
Yeah, it's like you don't want to choose your best game, choose your opponent's worst game. That's why, the 10K Dealer's Choice is such a prolific event for the mixed game crowd because it's not just playing a game well, it's playing all the games well and paying attention to the action enough to realize what game you should call and how you should play it.
So what's the most common game that gets played in the dealer's choice?
Um, so if you have a more amateur table, the high-low declare is a go-to favorite because a lot of people just I've never been exposed to it. So if you play a game you barely know the rules of, you don't know what ranges you should play whatsoever. And so if they make a mistake on third or fourth in that game, it gets called a lot because those mistakes compound themselves very quickly.
Of course. So how does that tournament end up playing? Is everyone like very nitty?
No, I mean you get some people just call there's usually so you get like back in the day when Dan Smith used to play it or I forget the name of the French player, but like they just called no limit or PLO and
Oh,
just like
oh,
go for it every hand.
wait, what's that guy's name? I love that guy. Davidi?
No, no, no.
Oh,
But I loved Davidi's game. No,
dude, I love
he played
Davidi.
all the mixed game events. I want to.
He plays mixed game. Oh, interesting.
Davidi doesn't, but the guy I'm thinking of does.
Oh, your guy does. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I love Davidi. Davidi's one of my all-time like favorite poker players.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite hand from back in the day was I think it was him who like some guy tried to go all in as a bluff in position, and he was also bluffing, and he said, "No, you're not all in. I'm all in," and the guy couldn't call, and like obviously they both knew each other was bluffing, but he
Right.
just like he had like 10 high and couldn't check call.
Was it good?
He won the pot. He didn't have the best hand.
Wow.
Julian Martini, that's what I'm thinking of.
Uh.
So like, yeah, he'll like call big bet and just play every hand.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, they got so these guys are talking about Alex and Seb. I actually forgot about Alex and Seb. You know what they're up to these days?
I think I ran to one of them last series, and like they just made a shitload of money in home games and online. And one of the first guys I battled with in Paducah was actually Seb. He talked a lot of shit on the 2+2 forum about how he would play me and whatever else, and like then I got really good at Paducah, and then he refused to play me. So it was kind of interesting, to see how in like 2 to 3 months the guy was like willing to open challenge me any stakes, and then wouldn't even play me at the lowest stakes that were offered. But they were obviously two great mixed game players, super great guys. Yeah, guys, I don't know why my camera's so shitty. I think someone said fees messed it up with the thing. Well, I plan on doing this again, hopefully, and we'll try to get some more kinks worked out. Oh, it was Anthony Lelouch? Okay. That's one of my favorite stories, and I've been waiting to use that spot. Yeah, quite the lull in the pots right now going down between these two. I think D-Negs.
We got a paired board turn check raise. Negreanu takes it. I haven't seen a ton of those. It's kind of out of vogue now. These days, everyone's about either flop raising paired boards. That's super in, and trapping definitely in. But turn check raise you don't see a ton of, and could be a very good play if people are double bet checking down. Definitely a good move, but hard to say. We don't have whole cards or stats, so really hard to say exactly what's going on in the mix. All right, let me ask you this question. So you kind of talked about this. Why do you think Negreanu accepted this challenge?
Yeah, I think he's in a situation where his sponsorship is very happy with the exposure he gets in a downtime when I think D-Negs was hoping to get the match on GG somehow, which would get them some downloads and some people on the platform. But playing Doug in Doug's game, if he loses, he's expected to lose. If he somehow wins, it shuts Doug up, and Doug can't make as many hilarious videos where Daniel's just like, "Hey, Doug, here's the 400K that I just kicked your ass out of in 200, 400." And and I also think he was confident in his coaching team. You don't accept this challenge without having the structure and planned team behind you. And when they were first discussing it, I thought for sure Daniel would pick a game and Doug would pick a game, and Daniel would probably call like some old school poker game, maybe even high-low declare, and just hopefully hope that Doug makes a lot of mistakes, or Daniel might switch the game. Like, I think it'd been really fun if Doug had 1 week to prep a game and 1 week to play a game, and they played for 20 weeks and just played no limit on the side. Really show the skill set of being a great poker player, which Daniel is. And Doug, for the little he's played mixed, he's done some impressive things. Me and him played heads up 8 game for a little bit. He tuned me up a little bit, but he mostly just won so much in the big bet. But obviously some of the limit games he was quite raw at the time. High-low declare is 7-card stud, 8 or very similar to 7-card stud, 8 or better, but to win the low side, you don't need an 8. So there's always a low and there's always a high. So a lot of pots are chopped in that. Like if you have 2 pair and a king low, someone with a queen low is going to get half the pot.
Do you, if Doug roasts him, can Doug continue to troll him?
I mean, I don't want to say too much of my insider knowledge. He could, but I don't think he's going to. I think that's a good question for him at the end of this session.
Well, I don't. Do you think? Let me ask. Well, I'll ask it a little bit different then, so we can get your answer. Do you think it's a good look for him if he roasts him and then next WSOP he's back to making troll Negreanu videos on YouTube or whatever he does?
Listen, I think that's part of his game. It's part of his brand. Definitely helps upswing. You know, Daniel being the punching bag. It's just like, guess what? All poker players will always make fun of Phil Hellmuth. As much as I love Phil, he's a close friend. I trust his opinion. I would go to him for life advice, poker advice, whatever. But you still can shit on Phil Hellmuth. And
Wait, you go to Phil Hellmuth for poker and life advice?
yes.
What would a question? What life advice or poker advice would you go to Phil Hellmuth?
I would go to Phil Hellmuth for life advice on marriage. Traveling and playing, raising two boys who are very, hyper intelligent, but may have, other issues going on. I think that Phil would be a great resource from a parenting aspect. And then I also like poker wise. I think Phil does a lot of things that are great, and he does a lot of things of inducing people to do really dumb shit. And I always like figuring out how to induce people to do dumb shit because people look at my face like you guys on Twitch who can see this face and not want to do something dumb versus it. You don't want to fold the best hand to me and me show you a bluff.
Do you feel like that is true? Do you
a big
feel
pot
like...
here for Daniel? Here calling the king. Doug missed the flush draw.
Yeah, seemingly somewhat reasonable hand. Do you think that you get special action because of who you are?
Yes. I definitely have had situations where people do dumb shit. Some guy's been super tight will just randomly 3-bet and barrel a hand and just show me 7 deuce off and be like, I always want to do that seeing you on TV. Or, they might play a hand really slow, trying to slow roll me, and I might save some equity because if they played their hand a little faster, I might have got stacked.
Mr. Green, Dan Coleman told me that. He said when he was winning every tournament, whatever year that was, I guess it was 14. He said that towards sort of the back half of that year, he kind of got the vibe. When he was at the table, he kind of got a vibe, especially in the main events, that like either these kids just like didn't want to, they just wanted to get out of the way, or like they like wanted to get a piece of him.
Yeah,
he
that's
normally
so true.
figured out, yeah, pretty early on, and then that honestly just made it even easier for him to.
Yeah, if you know opponents like not going to believe you, you can just go for huge sizings that look bluffy or polarized, and they're just going to call way too much. Or you can just keep stabbing at someone or 3-betting them, knowing that they're just going to 4-bet all their value and never flat out of position in 3-bet pot. So yeah, there's definitely spots you can take advantage of being a known player, especially whatever you're known for being good at. Like I might have the opinion to some online guys of being really good at live reads, so they might not want to do a particular thing, afraid that they might give something off.
I'm going to field a question. Actually, I'll ask you this. We got a question here from Twitter. Does Doug consider what's happening on one table versus the other? There's a hand where he went all in on one table and then did the same on the other. A lot of pressure there. Do you think that influenced his decision?
We got a big pot over another 1.5x river race here.
Can we run that one back? Can we see, Jimmy? Can you play that one again? Did he triple that?
I just saw it.
Just do that. I think this is just a bet jam.
Daniel, you talking about the 4 straight board?
Check. Yeah.
Daniel had led for 1/5 pot in the river, and then Doug 1.5x.
I see. Yeah.
So wait, what was that? Oh yeah, on the 2 tables, I think Doug isn't countering it too much. I personally would. I know I mentioned it, Doug, about the way some people see that stuff. Here's the new 3-bet size. I guess Doug opened bigger.
All right, everything just got bigger there. He almost dropped a 1-3-3-3-7 on us.
Little 4-bet from Dougie boy.
Do you think there's more of an edge to be gained in PLO and other mixed games, or no limit hold'em nowadays? What do you think?
It just depends on where you live and what people like to play and what the worst people like to play. I think there's no reason to limit yourself to one game or another. Play whatever game's profitable in your area, study that one, and on the side, just play a little bit of everything else.
Yeah, it's a tricky question. Honestly, I feel like the right answer to this question is, what do you like? It's like, well, I think finding the I think there's still opportunities in a lot of in No Limit, and I think that if you really like playing No Limit, then play No Limit. If you really like mixed games or PLO or tournaments, like you'll ultimately succeed at whatever you enjoy the most.
Yeah, I see a couple people asking what I think the chance of 2021 World Series happening. I think we're honestly in a flip right now. I think 7 months away, a lot could change with the vaccine, other things COVID related, but I could see the corporate side of not being able to hire enough dealers, the liability of running a massive crowded event where it's not sanitary, the chips are passing around, the dealers are moving around. Like legally, like liability wise, it's so difficult to protect yourself.
Yeah, it's a super spreader event waiting to happen. Got another giant 4-bet here from Doug.
Yeah, these guys are. The
Will
preflop charts are out in play right now.
Yeah. All right, we got a flop. That's a flop for Doug.
Brutal. I get slow rolled by you.
Oh, what am I? I'm ahead.
Yeah.
Do you have Skype?
Not on this computer. This is my laptop I've used like 4 times. Just bought it for online poker in my travels, and
Doug made a giant 4-bet, and the flop is Ace 8-4.
Yeah, I've caught up to that. Yeah,
here. Okay,
I'm like 5 seconds behind. So you're
tiny
like
bet.
Yeah.
Turns an ace. I think that's good for Negreanu. Check calls. I think this is a good turn for Negreanu, but still pretty close.
I mean, he definitely has a lot more worse kicker aces that now are way more confident.
Doug could also have Ace King and be very, very confident.
Yeah. But we did see Doug, I think, 4-bet in the live session, the Ace-7 suited. So we know, his charts have some middling suited aces as 4-bets with some frequency.
Oh, well, that river's just not that much fun.
That's another ace.
It's 4 spades.
That's an amazing river.
Well, yeah, with a lot of chops.
Yeah. Also,
no trucks getting backed up here.
You're in some shitty spots with some flushes.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that is true. Negreanu tank checks. Doug's in the tank. Doug's all in. Oh, Doug's bluffing. Oh, no.
Cookie jar happened.
And the cookie jar couldn't help himself. Needed another tasty treat. Doug had Queen Jack offsuit. Yeah, I mean, makes sense. That is definitely the bluff combo, right? Like Negreanu's gonna have you don't want him to have Ace Queen. Doug had a spade though, but you don't want him to have Ace Queen or Ace Jack.
DNeg's feeling good. He's gonna probably lock up his first winning session of the online portion.
Are you gonna win a session? What is the word?
That's what happens when me and him get on the same side. The upswing boys get punished. I'll let you buy out for 1K now.
Yeah, we could do that, or we could double it.
All right, double it.
All right, 10K. Booked. Bad luck. Have fun. Super gutsy play by Doug, but I guess you just kind of have to. It's a weird spot because
I mean DNegs has folded a lot of rivers so far.
Like, what are you gonna make him? What does he fold in that river? I guess tens. He has tens and 8 spades. I think he would fold a flush. So the session is supposed to end in 13 minutes, but I don't necessarily. I mean, they'll just Not every session is 2 hours. Negreanu just typically calls it at 2 hours, right?
I mean, they've only played 2, and I think they both ended around the 2-hour mark. But Daniel
Right,
was getting brutalized both times.
right.
So maybe he might feel the flow, and
Yeah,
they're not
maybe
resetting
keep going.
stacks. And if he think Doug's going to be over bluffing, super deep, DNX might think this is a spot to chip away off his lead and win 180K pot or so.
Yeah, maybe it's time. I don't know. I hope they keep going. I don't like. I would prefer this thing doesn't last like until the new year. But
Till the new year, it's definitely gonna last that long. That's
yeah, I know.
just
I
not
know.
enough days. I mean, if they quit the 12.5, it could get there.
I mean, if they start playing 4 hours a day, they'll get there.
Yeah. They also could play every day. I mean, both of them just have
True.
poker going on.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that'd be pretty sick, every day, tune in at 5:30 Eastern, watch a Daniel and Doug for a couple hours before sitting down at dinner with your family.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what like the most like whoever thinks actually either in chat or on Twitter, if you think you have the most like interesting viewing experience, like I don't know, you're in a church or like there's kids or something, like watching from your couch, like if you think you have the most, let me know if you think you have the most interesting high stakes viewing experience.
I think I want to see the most degenerate, like who's driving down the highway, with the top
Yeah.
down, holding their phone up like through their Bluetooth speaker, trying to like stream it on their little
Sweat the
iPad
action.
of their Tesla. Like I want to see
They
the degenerates in poker.
They have one of the poker shares like session bets that they're sweating super hard. You got like
Yeah, they're live betting each hand.
yeah.
Will Daniel Collier, will they fold? Yeah, I would like to see poker chairs put out a line of over under of hands in the longest session. There's a lot of fun things for Timex to put as offers. So I think
All
we
right.
need more session gambling.
Doug can get off the hook. He can get unstuck in the session, right? We got another gigantic 4-bet. Hopefully he's got at least a queen jack suited this time.
Is he
And
4-betting
Daniel
good
4-bets.
combos?
Oh baby.
Daniel 5-bet, you mean?
No. Don't
Oh,
Daniel
he 4-bet the other table?
Yeah, we're getting down and dirty here. Doug calls. 4-bet 7-3, 7-6-3 rainbow. It's not the best flop for Doug. Daniel 5-bets.
What sizing did he choose?
We got 13 from Doug, 29 from Daniel. Doug started the hand with 80K. We got a tiny 4-bet here.
I mean, tiny 5-bet.
Tiny C-bet, my bad. 20 C-bet. Doug calls. All right. 9-7-2. Flush draw. All right. This is honestly not looking good for Doug right now. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to make of the 5-bet. Feels not good. The 4-bet's definitely not good because it turns to 6 Negreanu's bet small again.
Uh-oh. Chat might have spoiled it.
I'm not all right. I won't watch the chat. Wait, they can't.
I don't. Okay, I don't know who's.
I think we're like. Oh, Negreanu checks. Doug bets 9K into 60. 50, 58, 6. Call. Turn 7 of clubs. Dana triples off the other one. Doesn't get snap called. I guess that means Doug has ace high there.
Why, he's calling all 2 pairs on this runoff?
He doesn't have a ton. He's gonna have like ace, queen, ace, jack, and versus the small bets probably oftentimes call them. And yeah, a lot of his pairs are probably gonna have to call it off. Doug checks river's an ace. Seems good for Doug.
You think an ace is good for Doug on the right table?
I mean, FTD, yeah,
better
definitely.
for Daniel. What ace is he betting the flop?
Let me put it to you this way. Like ace jack, yeah, there it is. So yeah, Doug has ace jack, calls it off. Let me put it to you this way. So yeah, he probably was. I'm gonna guess he wasn't beating ace king anyway. So it's like I don't know. Maybe he has like ace jack or something. And
wow, those are some big pots for. Look at DNEG, 175K at each table.
This session we might keep going. We might have to just keep going here. we could possibly play a 3 or even 4-hour session today.
Uh-oh. Better text the wife.
It's a shame we don't get to know how Doug had in the 5-bet pot.
Well, we'll definitely be the first people to find out because that'll definitely be the first hand we most likely ask him. So definitely stay tuned in. See the viewers keep getting a little bit higher and higher in this channel. So hope you guys are enjoying this. But Fees, how you feeling about your bet, buddy?
Great.
I'm feeling a little.
I feel great. Like I'm like not really worried. I'm not really worried. There's a lot of variance in heads up. Anything can happen.
There is. Yeah, this is they went that low with a lot of small pots, but I think you're gonna see a stack in here quite frequently.
It was bound to happen. Like eventually, we have another big pot. Do you know what the action is in this one? Big bet from Negreanu.
I think it was just regular bet check. I don't think it was a 3-bet pot.
All right, so the line on Doug right now in poker shares is Negreanu plus 830, Doug minus 1400. If the session ends now, what do you think the line?
Sorry, I was reading some stuff.
Plus 800 minus 1400 is a poker shares line right now. This session ended right now. If it does indeed end in 5 minutes, nothing meaningful happens. What do you think the line moves to?
I would guess like 1,000, 1,400. I mean, this is a good session for Daniel. Win some buy-ins. He picked his pre-flop aggression seems to be working out. He was on the right side of the cooler for once.
Yeah, that is one thing. It's funny I don't think they don't have run it twice on WSOP, but if they did, that would I guess it's good for Daniel, right? Jack up the variance, like maybe you can get a W.
Yeah.
What do you
I
have?
mean, they also just don't get it in. Like I said, there's yet to be that flopper turn all in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they pretty much always wait till the river. What is your run it twice at etiquette or prep? Do you always run it twice, or what do you do?
Only in the biggest games where I think if I lose the pot, something bad's gonna happen. Either I can't play or the game might break because one fish goes broke. But in general, I try to just run it once. I think I embrace the variance better than most of my opponents in the games I choose to play, and I'm usually more rolled. So I want to, get them out of their comfort zone. And since I'm, bluffing a decent chunk, I don't want them to know they can call and, with their shitty draw or something or the hero call, they put me on a flush draw and run it 3-4 times and, get some money back every time.
Sure. The only time I mostly will run it twice. The only time that I demand I run it once is in a multi-way PLO pot where it's just going to be a nightmare because somebody's going to have more chips than somebody and you're going to be sitting there forever and get it wrong.
Oh yeah, and when you play PLO8 or Big O or some of those split pot games,
yeah,
it just gets so sloppy.
Yeah, somebody just needs to win the pot.
D-Negs was definitely down in this match, so I think the 180K is close to correct. I don't think it's that far off. It might be plus or minus 10K. It's not the easiest thing to follow along with the auto reload, but I think our counter's doing a good job.
It'll be about right, and possibly in 3 minutes he'll let us know.
I mean, we're hoping they just keep going. I want to see some blood. I want to see, the $250,000 session even out the match and really build up the hype. Another 4-bet pot from Daniel.
You might get your wish. We got a call. We're gonna see a flop. 652. Not another unexciting flop for Doug in his range.
All right, I will be back in 1 second. I gotta go let my wife in.
Doug's all in. That's good for Doug. Daniel did not snap call. Oh, this is not good for Doug. Oh, it's getting a little bit better for Doug. Oh, unlucky Daniel. That's just too bad. That was also like possibly a slow roll. I don't know if anyone has a slow roll bet. That was like kind of a slow roll.
Ooh, I just came back to see that.
Yeah.
When the money go in? Flop?
Flop, yeah. Doug had aces, Negreanu had kings.
No, it was Jackson 10s, I thought.
Yeah, it's Jackson 10s. Casual backdoor flush for 8K for the road. Oh, looks like that is the road actually.
I see everyone making jokes. No, I'm in the in-law apartment. I locked the door so the kids can't get in, and the wife couldn't find the key to that door. She does have a key to the house. Don't worry, kids. Yeah, overall, Daniel has to be very happy with that session. Got it in good a bunch. Play the 4 and 5 bet pots for his frequency. He showed down a big pair and ace king every single time. So maybe he just got the good distribution of better pre-flop hands.
We'll see. So now it looks like Doug lost 1-4. What was he up? 270 going into this one?
Yeah. Guys, it's Perrier, not Mountain Dew.
All right, well, Negreanu's hitting the road, so that's it. Stay tuned. Doug will be joining us in just a second. He will tell us what he had in the 5-bet pot and answer whatever questions you guys might have. If you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter. The chat is kind of a nightmare to pick out a question. Doug is still up 130K. If there is a World Series of Poker next year, I imagine you will come. Will you come and stay do the whole thing?
I mean, if I'm there, I can't imagine not doing the full thing.
Well, I don't know. You have the kids and everything, right? Like,
yeah, but I have a wife. So.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello,
we got WCG Polk.
Hey,
what up?
Just like a bunch of static. Can I plug my webcam in actually? Does that work?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they have to add you. I mean, you can do it. I don't think we can, but just put it in there and then maybe the boys will figure it out.
Yeah, how you feeling, Dougie?
You can just do voice. That's cool too. I'm good, man. I mean, obviously it was not the best of runs there at the end.
Yeah. Chat wants to know if you don't mind saying what you had in the 5-bet hand.
I had the old pocket jacks.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunate river there for us. Is this working?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, it was an unfortunate. I don't know if this is gonna like pop up or not on the stream. Yeah, it was a tough spot. Like, it's a weird spot. It's not really like a size that you see too often there, especially like it's just a weird spot. It's not a spot I think I've ever really been in, to be honest. So I like decide on the turn, maybe jam sometimes check back and check, and then there was an ace, and you start the old trap ski. So luckily we didn't have air. That could have gotten ugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you gotta look on the right side, and then it was just like a
Oh,
fast.
he's in the tank top.
You gotta be in the tank top, bro. It was a pretty fast and furious little like swing there. There were some other tough spots too. Like I had a spot where I 4-bet queen jack, um, and I bet, and then river I decided to jam with my hand, basically like grumping top boat into an ace. So obviously that sucked, but sometimes you got to run it. And then the tens hand. I mean, that was a tough spot too. But luckily I just sucked out in the back door, so you take it where you can get it. It's tough because like he 4-bets a lot. But then whenever I seem to like try and fuck with it, I either get 5-bet or he has the goods. Like he stacked me another spot jacks versus kings. So he's going with the strat of 4-bet a lot and have it, which is a
Yeah,
really tough strat to beat. That's a tough
Yeah.
one to beat.
yeah. I was just saying that before he got on. I said his frequency of 4-betting, yet I haven't seen a shitty hand once. Like I know there's a couple times he's given up, but man, he just has a Broadway pair or ace king or ace queen. Like that's really tough to beat.
Yeah, it's a good strat, right? Like we're gonna learn more as we kind of go along. I assume he's just running kind of. I mean, like this is the thing. Like I lost 2 buy-ins this session. I was up like a couple buy-ins, so it was like a 5 buy-in swing. If I had lost that all in at the end, I would have lost 4
Wait, you only
buy-ins.
lost 80K because our tracker was off.
Yeah.
Uh, am I doing this wrong? I think I lost 90K. Lost 90K, yeah, 85K, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
we
mean,
had you at minus 140, so we were like a wee bit off. It's it is a little tough to track.
yeah, it's tough to track. I can see that. So yeah, we only lost 2 buy-ins, but I should have lost 4. But like, it's one of those spots where the money amount seems ridiculous. So like people are like, "Oh, 100K swing." It's like, yeah,
Right.
2.5 buy-ins. Like it's just not that big of a swing,
Yeah. Has there been any discussion about playing longer than 2 hours, or Daniel just knows you'll keep playing until he, sits out?
Daniel said that he wanted to play shorter sessions at the start, so that's nothing new there. I think his game plan is to start off with short sessions, and then as he feels more comfortable, play longer ones or add another table. I mean that's fine. Like I expected like the earlier sessions would be a little bit on the shorter side. So that's cool with me.
I know the
Obviously I
sample.
prefer to play longer, but he's still like dipping his toes in the water. So I think with a little bit of time he'll start to play a bit longer, and we'll have some longer battles.
I know the sample's small, but do you feel like already an adjustment from him to your current strategy, or do you feel like he still got his same game he had the first session guys played live?
Well, it's tough to say. I think he played a little different live than online, but you know, the live session is different because we got to see all the hands, so you could easily see what he was doing. Playing online, it's not quite the same, right? Like you can see some showdowns, so you get like a feel for what he's doing in some spots, but you don't get to see all the hands. So it's not like I can know what he's doing in all these situations like I could in the live session. I do think he's playing a little differently. I don't want to go too deep into what I think he's doing, but I think he's playing a little more aggressive overall online than he did when we played live. Kind of feels like it. Um, and yeah, it's been interesting. It was an interesting swing today. I was like, man, this is great. I got this whole thing under control. We're gonna just like lock this challenge up in the next few K hands, win every day. And then it was like hammer, and then just like boom, and I'm like, oh, and just like getting wrecked on the way down the slope. So it was pretty swingy here. I think like people tend to overestimate wins and losses, each session, right? Like I win 4 buy-ins, I'm mashing him, he wins the live, like Doug got owned. Like it's just, it's just small hand samples. Like we played like probably 400-ish hands today. It's not like we played like a particularly massive sample. So you should just expect like Yeah, I saw some lines going around people were talking about where they were like betting on the results of a session, and Fedor was like, I want to get 2.5 to 1 on DNegs to win a session. It's like, dude, this is 400 hands.
Yeah.
400. You know, like anyone can step in there and be better than 2.5 to 1 as long as you just know how to like open and like bet some boards. Like it's not that hard to be 2.5 to 1 to win.
All right, let me try to find a question. When can we expect the Dwan versus Polk heads-up match?
Is that on the docket?
I don't think you would say no.
Probably not. It's like all of a sudden people want to play heads up. It's just kind of weird. It's like there's more action nowadays than there was back in 2015 when I was playing before. So
I mean, crypto people's got a lot more money than they had
fair.
back then.
People have more money. People are at home. People, people want to gamble, whatever it is.
Yeah, Fees was mentioning about the way all your dinners now, half the conversation is poker related. So like the whole Doug on retiring seems more and more appetizing with some of the stakes and frequency of action you probably can get in the next year or two to take advantage of all this work you've done on your game.
Yeah, there's so like I've spent a lot of time on this stuff. So there's obviously like a lot of value in getting to actually use it, right? Like getting to get out there in the streets and implement these ranges. It's pretty grindy. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of sims and there's a lot of like practice and memorizing stuff and learning concepts and trying to apply it. So it's difficult, and I would be lying if I said I really enjoyed it. But like sometimes you just got to get out there and back up the fucking truck, like that's just
Yeah.
life. Like I can't be like, yo, heads up challenge. No way. He says yes. My bad. My bad. I'll see you guys later. You just got to show up, right? And the way that I approach things is like if I do it, I'm all in. I don't just like half-ass it. If Negreanu wins, like props to him. Like he will have earned it against someone really trying in a game they're good at. I don't think he's gonna win, but obviously like he's learned a lot of things. He plays some spots well, and if he runs like today, he's gonna take this one down. So we'll see what happens.
Do you have any plans on how to spend some of your expected winnings? Like any vanity plates or buying a house in his honor?
I don't really know if after losing 100K I can get on here and talk about how I'm going to spend my winnings. It just doesn't really feel right. Yeah, I'm going to spend my so what I'm going to do with my winnings is I'm going to take out a loan to pay them back. No, it's way too early, man. Like we still have a long ways to go. I think we're probably 1,400 hands or so in at the moment. So
How long do you think it's going to take to finish this challenge?
it's really more up to him than up to me. Like I would like to play more days a week. I'd probably like to play like 4 to 6 days a week. I'd like to play longer sessions. I'd like to 3-table. I'd like to do all that stuff. But he didn't want to do that out of the gate. He wanted to play short sessions, and he said 2 hours. That's reasonable. If it's like 3 times a week, 2 hours in like a month, it's gonna be too much because it's just gonna take too fucking long. I don't want this to be going on in like February or something. So I think if we can start doing like another session a week and maybe play for like more like 3 or 4 hours, maybe add another table, then I don't think it'll take that long. Because like you think about it like this, 3 sessions, 2 hours is 1,200 hands a week, roughly. So you add in 1 more hour, you're already up to 2,100 hands, and then you add another session, and all of a sudden you're at like 2,800 hands or whatever it is. So that wouldn't take more than a couple of months. And those aren't even like big numbers. It's like an extra session a week, an extra hour per session. It's not like that crazy. So I think we'll probably if it goes to 12.5, I think we would play until like probably mid-December, early December. If it goes the whole way, probably mid-late January. If I just had to guess.
Now a couple questions that we weren't sure about, neither was chat. Do you and Daniel have any agreement on resetting sacks mid-session, or are you just forced to play as is?
We talked about that. We're just gonna let it roll. We're just gonna not reset stacks and just play it out. Yeah, I mean that's just what we're doing. So should be some pretty sick pots.
Yeah, I think that the not resetting might prevent some of the longer sessions. I also think you guys maybe to discuss with him doing one day you might do 2 2-hour sessions, depending on what sleep schedule you guys are on, whether an early one or a later one might be a way to help you guys both, speed through this challenge.
Yeah, he said he wanted to do that. I'm not a huge fan of that idea because like I wake up very early usually. My sleep's kind of all over the place, but like I tend to wake up very early, and I think he tends to wake up later. So like, you know, he wanted to do a second session later on in the day, like 7 or 8, and like that's just too late for me. I'm an old man Doug here. Maybe I'm the old man speeding. But basically, I don't think that's great for our schedules. I think it's better just to play like a longer session midday. But yeah, I'm not against that concept. I think that could be in the cards.
Are you leaning towards, if you get a big lead, possibly streaming one of these sessions yourself with no hole cards?
With no whole. Oh, you mean streaming without my whole cards up?
Correct.
Um, if it got into the lulz territory, I would definitely consider it. You know, but we're a long way from lulz territory. We're in like tooth and nail territory. So for the time being, it's gonna be just focusing more sims back in the dungeon, and then just trying to play my A game. For the time being, anyway.
Yeah. So when's the lunch date you and Daniel have planned?
There's no lunch date because of COVID, obviously.
Obviously.
How's the chat doing, by the way? I see it's lively over here. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
They're good. They're upset that you aren't using the 1337 sizing. In fact, one guy was really upset that you bet 1336.8, and he just thought that was like incredibly disrespectful. And honestly, I have to agree.
You know, I also have to agree that it's just incredibly disrespectful to do that. You know, it's like all of those years meant nothing.
Yeah.
I just want to know how animated you are during these sessions. Like, have you slammed the table yet? Have you said anything out loud? Is your girl walking in, you're screaming at her like, I'm in a tough spot, or you just kind of in the quiet dungeon right now?
We're just dungeoning it up. I mean, I mainly like I'm not like a tilter. I don't slam shit or get angry. I'm more like try to look on like the bright side of things, and like when I'm getting stacked, and we're like, well, this isn't good, rather than just like punch the monitor or whatever. I don't know. I just don't really tilt like that. Like there's gonna be some really bad streaks in this challenge. It's gonna happen. Like it's enough hands to where you're just gonna get stacked a bunch. Um, maybe we get like a brick river in the Jack's hand. I jam. I'm break even today. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's definitely it's not bad enough to get tilted, and it's such short sessions. It's like really hard to get crushed. It's hard for anyone to really get crushed in a
I think
short
you're going
session.
to see a 10 bind session between you guys. I mean, especially how crazy your pre-flop frequencies seem to be. It's just like if Daniel runs like he did pre-flop, and if you didn't start off so hot, you would have been buried this session.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how hot I started. I mean, I ran hot and then I got some bluffs through. If we're gonna call that running good, I guess that it is.
I mean, we don't see the cards. You were winning. Daniel seemed to be losing pots. He was folding a ton of rivers, and he
Yeah.
just wasn't. He didn't win a big showdown at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had some good spots, but I feel like a lot of those pots were, um, I don't know how much run hot. Maybe they were. I don't know. I guess
I think a lot of people want to talk about the King 7, King 5 hand that we briefly recounted. Obviously, that was, I think, the most interesting hand that we saw so far this session. I mean, this match. It was obviously the previous session, but I don't know how far you want to get into your thoughts. But
yeah, I could talk like very basically. Basically, like in that spot, my hand's very good. And then because it's a backdoor straight, the big blind isn't going to check call with straight draws, so they're not going to have straights. And when people don't have straights, you get to use very big sizes on the button to try and stack them. And then you also get to bluff like that because it's just fun. No, but I mean, like, get to bluff the same size you're value betting. So, like, in that spot, you're going to be jamming for value, thinner than maybe some people would be used to. And it's like, honestly, like one of the least interesting hands of the challenge so far. It's just so standard. It's like I had top two and just bet and then jammed a right river. I don't know. It's like he just ran bad. Like he had top and he had two pair, top pair and like the river two pair. It's just not. He can't fold that. I don't know. It's like no one really played that hand well. It was just standard. Like he played his hand correctly. I played my hand correctly. It was a cooler.
So what is the hand you think he's played the worst so far?
This is a classic Shaun Deeb question. You know, I looked at the 9-7 hand, and it ended up being way less bad than I thought it would be. So, you know, I guess it depends on if he was just pure calling on the turn, like fuck it, we're doing it live. In which case, it's probably a little bit too aggressive. He's done even just small things, like some of the hands he shows down raising, like they just don't really make sense. Some of his flop bets don't really make sense. I mean, I can't get too deep into the
Yeah,
weeds,
I,
but
I think
it,
the 9-7 is definitely one of those hands that's going to be talked about. Of is Daniel just tilting? Is he just like trying too hard to outplay you? Does he always think you're bluffing? As a poker player, I put myself in each of your shoes, and it's crazy that solvers back that play up because I personally saw the hand go down and said, I don't think Doug's giving up on this river nearly enough to justify that call. And pure equity, you don't have enough equity. So
yeah, I
I don't
mean
know.
it's a weird spot. Like he had 9-7 of clubs, and the 8 of clubs wasn't out there, so he's got his best 9-7. As funny as that sounds, he has his best 9-7, and then like sometimes you have to float hands that get to bluff jam if I check. And like I will check fold the river sometimes, obviously. Like I'm gonna high frequency bet it, but like sometimes I will check fold. And when I check fold, it's nice to have 9-7. Um, you know, so it's not as bad. It's not as bad as like I think like people make it out to be. It seems like somewhat okay. Um, yeah, I don't think that one was that bad. I haven't seen too many like really bad hands. The main um the main thing I'm seeing is just some like weird like spots where he chooses like early streets with weird hands and weird sizes, and like he's definitely
Yeah,
made
I
a
feel
lot
like
more
his
mistakes, and he's made a lot more mistakes. I think his play style is more likely to make mistakes in small pots than like a lot of mistakes in like really big pots. I think that's kind of more the way he plays, but um you know, he's played a bunch of hands well. Like I can't say like he's just been like over here just like donking it up. Like he's he's played most of his hands pretty well that I've seen.
You got any questions for him, Fees?
Uh, no, I don't think so.
All
I think
right,
we can
someone
call
asked
it
a question.
call it a touch.
What
Yeah, you
hand
got
do
one,
you
go
think
for it.
you could have played better?
What'd you say, Deeb?
What hand do you think you could have played better so far?
I feel pretty good about my hands today, honestly. I'm gonna have to like run through them and see if they were correct or not. But
Yeah, Fees thought the Queen Jack having a spade, he didn't like it as much, but still thought it was one of your better bluffing hands.
in the Queen Jack Ace Queen, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that spot is less about the spade and more about blocking Ace Queen Ace Jack or whatever than it is like the spade. Also like you have to have hands that can bet the turn. So also it's not like I'm doing that all the time. I can't really talk past that, but it's just like I'll look it up. We'll see if it was bad. I'm sure fucking it'll get analyzed to a million pieces on the internet anyway, and people will know if it was bad or not. So we'll
Right.
find out. We'll find out soon enough. That's what's been really different about this challenge compared to like the one I did with Sauce back in the day. It's like you play your hands, and then you know a cajillion people tell you about what you did right or wrong, and like a lot of times they're right because they can just analyze the ranges. So it's like back in the day, if someone was like, "Hey, you're supposed to check fold the turn, bro," you're like, "Cool story, dude. Like, thanks for the input. Like, you know, keep up the good work." But now it's kind of like you're like, "Damn it, should check fold the turn." So there's like more there's like better feedback input from people, but it's just the way this is gonna go is like when I lose a session, it's gonna like swing back towards everyone's on, thinking the ground's gonna come back, and when I win a session, I'm ahead or whatever. It's just gonna go back and forth. The reality is like I think that I have a good edge here, and like swings are gonna happen, and we'll know by the end. You know, probably.
Yeah, I mean, but then there was also the live match where you thought the line would move in your favor to bet on yourself, and then it drastically went against you.
Yeah,
You know that?
that was a little strange because um it was like I was like, okay, I lost like what would be 3 buy-ins online. It's gonna move back towards Negreanu. Maybe there'll be some good opportunities here. And then it was like, now Doug's a 6-1 favor. I'm like, what the fuck? What do I have to do around here? It was kind of like when I was like, tweeted something where I was like, I'm losing to mid-stakes players, and everyone's like, yeah, nice try, Doug, nice try. And then the line moved towards me, and like everyone's like, Doug's hustling. Like, I'm like, no, guys, I'm actually losing to mid-stakes players. This was not like a long con where I was like trying to convince. It was like, here's my graph, I'm losing. Everyone's like, yeah, no, we're not falling for this shit, Doug. It's not our first day here in the Twitter streets. So yeah, I mean, like we're probably nearing a point where the line won't shift all that much. I have a lot of work to do, so I'm gonna get in the streets and study and prepare, and just play my best next session as well. That's my goal.
Thanks for hopping in. Yeah, I think me and
Yeah.
Feast will probably do some commentary again in the future. I think we're gonna try to shuffle it up. Who's on the Upswing channel? I know some of you guys liked what you heard, some of you didn't. But there's a lot of other people also streaming this, and hopefully we get the technical difficulty fixed for the future commentary.
You know what, Deeb? I think the issue was like maybe you were a little bit too nice. I have a
Hey,
feeling like you're
Doug,
just one of those guys.
wait.
You refuse to call a spade a spade. It's all pleasantries. Sometimes you gotta just break down the wall and say what you mean.
I did make a 10K betting on Daniel during this stream.
Yeah, he fished it up. He didn't bet on you to begin with, and then he bet even more against your.
I play with the field player. I give Daniel credit for some of the things he's doing. I think he's going to improve.
Okay. So you bet on Daniel in the challenge.
So me and Fees bet. I have. If he loses under 1.1 million, I win.
Okay. So it was a good session for you then.
I was quite happy with the swing. I would have preferred you not to make a flush, but you got to win one here and there now, Doug, with your shitty pairs.
You know what, Deeb? It would only in your honor would it be to invite you onto my company stream to talk about the challenge, and then you're like anti-sweating me. Come on, Jax, hold! This is like as it gets stacked. Good to have you on.
Hey, I'm here for the people.
Good to hear. Honestly, like guys, like I'm just happy because like I'm just so happy that I get this chance to play, and like when I get stacked and I've losing it, that's fine. Like that's poker. You're gonna do that. I'm just happy to have the opportunity to get to play this. I think it's obviously a good spot for me. And if he wins in a session, it's gonna happen a lot. There's no point in getting that happy or sad about it. It's just we get to have another session on Friday, so looking forward to playing that one.
Cool. Yeah. Well, good luck. I hope you win and Deeb lose more money.
Rooting for that as well.
Hey, I'll be really happy if you win a flat million. Be really excited. That's like the mental hedge.
I think we could all get behind that. All right, guys. Call session. By the way, chat, thank you for tuning in, guys. Appreciate everybody.